And I don't know if you need to look at just how I have it set up.
So
Um,
let's start with what automation pushes them into the review request. What do you have that pushes them into the review request?
um, so this is what happens if any of these tags are
Mhm.
present. Um, then it waits 12 hours. I did 12 hours so that it's the next day.
Yeah,
Because
smart.
sometimes our job is done at 5:30, right? We go till
Right. Yeah,
till the
right.
end. Um, and so I waited 12 hours and I'm actually going to take this step out.
Hmm.
Um, I have this step in here. I'll eventually take it out because some of our clients have um, some of our clients have done Google reviews, so we just
Hmm.
need to check them and then add the tag. And it is a project we're taking care of. So once it's completed, we
Hmm.
will take that step out. That step will no longer be here. And then it'll just, and I'm not even sure this internal notification needs to be here because we already get, it already comes in as you received a Google review automatically, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So that might be like work we don't really need to have in here, steps we don't really need to have in here. But the
Hmm.
first thing that happens is they get a voice bomb. And then is what I wanted to do is like, hey, we're calling to see what we could do better. And then 1 minute later, we send a text message and that starts it. And then I have an outcome. So if they text back saying, oh, it was great, we loved it, um, yada, yada, then we have an outcome that we will get automatically.
Hmm.
And um, we just fill that outcome on out. If they loved it or they're happy, then that outcome will send them into the automation of requesting by text
Gotcha.
and email several times, till whenever. So that's how I have it set up right now.
Okay. So I'm gonna share my screen and then we'll go back and look at your screen.
Okay.
So let me share. Okay, you should just see my background and let's bring this one over. So I covered this in the video that I made the other day, like the really long video. You guys have the snapshot, if you will, so you don't have to worry about like going back and trying to recreate the whole thing. If you watch it's like a 3.5 hour video. If you just watch the first 90 minutes, you learn the whole business model. The second half of the video is like me building it, so you don't have to do any of that. But
Okay.
if you watch the video, I kind of walk through what I do for this, and I'm actually working with a cleaning agency right now, and we're building out his backend system. So a lot of what you do and the way that you do it, he does a very similar process in terms of like doing the phone call to figure out if you had a good experience or not, all that stuff, right?
Uh-huh.
So when it comes to the review referral, what you want to remember is that and like you said, right, you're having some kind of a tag that's saying like the job is complete. So I would want to look at, between you and I, if I was, excuse me, working on your account, I'd want to say, okay, how are you getting those tags? Like, can we automate as much as possible, right? So like for example, can
They're
you see?
automated. They're coming in
Okay,
on
good.
a trigger. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
like
they
this
come
is
in on a trigger from Zap.
perfect. So oh yeah, because you use the two systems, right?
Yeah.
And what's your system that you use? It's not Booking
Made
Qual, it's
Central.
Made Central. So this is like what I mapped out with him
Um,
yesterday.
oh, good. I was gonna say, can you make it big for my old eyes?
Yeah, yeah. This is like the full, well, that's a little bit too
I
far
know.
back. But this is the one-time job management. So this is what we're basically what we're doing is we mapped out his process. And
Uh-huh.
so he's currently using Booking Koala. Was it not?
Okay.
There we go. So he's currently using Booking Koala. And what he wants to do is eventually try to replace it. So what I said was let's start with the two white squares being if we can have the sales system put in place first to increase conversions, and then the second white square being reviews, referrals, retention, right? Because we can do all that outside of Book and Koala. And then I said we can look at how to replace the Book and Koala platform, right? And that's what I cover in the training. Let me go ahead and pull a copy up so you can see what I'm referencing. One second. in this training, like for anybody who might be watching, whether you're in the group or not, it doesn't really matter. Like this, if I had this when I was starting out, like I'd be making a lot more money.
I
But if
do
you're
want to
in,
watch this. I've started it. I just
yeah, it's a long one for you. Just watch the first half. You don't need to watch past like where I get to. I mean, you can if you want to look at the builds.
yeah, I do. I want to see just how you build. Like I like to see how other
Mhm.
people build because I feel like I'm learning to build like you, but it's
Yeah.
been really hard. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like I struggle with the um mind mapping part really bad.
Yeah. And that's what I was telling this client yesterday. I told him I said like, most people who are struggling with any kind of build, I always say like, do you have a map? And usually the answer is no, because once you map it out, the answers become very clear to you. Like for example, this sticky note right here that says, pipeline job outcome survey. So like these are the assets that we know we have to create. And the assets come from the flow chart. So we don't create the assets first. We don't say, hey, here's what we need to build. Let's map it out. We say, I basically said, hey, let's start from a client accepts a quote because that would be once the sales portion is done, which I know how to build. So I'm like, I need the part that I don't know how to build. Your active job management, right?
Hmm.
And what's cool is if you do this process where it's called if you look at basic project management, it's called a WBS, a workflow breakdown structure. It's basically like breaking down these vertical pieces, right? Which are, we know as automations. And so the automations are technically like every industry has different language and jargon. So in high level, what we call an automation is like the singular automation that could have as many or as few steps as possible, right? What I like about project management and the way that they approach it is they tell you to break down a workflow. So a workflow would be a subtask, right? So for
Hmm.
example, if I want to brush my teeth, what would that workflow breakdown structure look like? It would look like go to go to bathroom. I assume we all brush our teeth in the bathroom. Maybe you got some kitchen people who are weird. I don't know. But we go to the bathroom, we get toothbrush, we moisten toothbrush, we apply this specific brand of toothpaste. This is the exact amount of toothpaste we apply. We begin brushing teeth. As we're brushing teeth, we're making small circular motion, right? And we're going over the different quadrants of the mouth. Once
Yeah.
we're done, we rinse off toothbrush, we spit, we begin mouthwash. For mouthwash, we use this. And so, like, the mouthwash piece would be like a different workflow because it's a
Hmm.
different step that I'm doing. Now, could you argue it's all part of dental hygiene? Yes, but then I could break it down into, for me, I always floss, then brush my teeth, then do mouthwash, right?
Hmm.
So, like, that's my process that I do. And so, um, that's kind of like the full task might be, the full folder might be dental hygiene, but then the different workflows within that folder are going to be flossing, brushing teeth, mouthwash, right? And then you have some people who say, well, I want to do mouthwash before I brush my teeth because when I brush my teeth, it's going to pull off all the stuff, when I do mouthwash, it's going to take off all the, I don't know, fluoride or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. So like maybe that's a reason why you argue that, right? But the fact of the matter is like I don't have to be a professional anything to say walk me through this process that you do. Now, once you walk me through the process of, okay, if I want to brush my teeth, I need to go to the bathroom, I need to get my toothbrush, I need to moisten my toothbrush, and I need to apply this amount of toothpaste and brush my teeth. Right away, we've identified all of the assets we need, right?
Right.
Outside of the actual bathroom and lighting, we know that we need a toothbrush, we need a certain brand of toothpaste, and we need a certain amount of running or flowing water, right?
Right.
And so then we come over here and we can add, okay, we need a toothbrush. We need toothpaste. We need this brand of toothpaste. We need to make sure we have access to these things. And so then we go, great, where can we find those things? If I didn't tell you in the bathroom, I just told you the things we needed, you could then say, well, we could argue for anywhere that has running water. So maybe a laundry room, a bathroom, a kitchen, right?
Hmm.
And then I could say, well, this is part of my routine. So we can then from there we could, deduce that we need to do this in the restroom where, maybe you've got your comb or your brush and maybe your makeup or your, maybe your cologne, your deodorant, right? Where are these other things housed? They're housed in the bathroom. So let's go ahead and house this in the bathroom, right? And so I'm using a very commonplace example to show you guys that you already do this on a regular basis. It's just that the minute we apply it to this, we start like reevaluating how we approach it, and that's what leads us to overcomplicate things because we're trying to. I think the biggest thing that I see is that business owners always try to overcomplicate things because they feel like I think as business owners, what's funny is the moment you show somebody how simple it can be, they almost feel guilty. They're almost like, wait, but because it's not overcomplicated, how is it going to work? Like we equate complication with intelligence and intelligence with results and results with money. And it's like, well, we can actually do this really simply. And then with that simplicity, anybody can do it. With anybody doing it, we can remove you from doing it. And then
I
it
think my
almost feels
brain
like
is like
counterintuitive.
I think my brain just likes to overcomplicate. Like when I see this, I'm like, I don't know. It's just like,
Right.
let's
And
make
what's
this let's make this harder.
Right,
So,
and that's what I see all the time, especially with like the established business owners. And if you talk with somebody like Omar, who Omar's been doing these flows too, and you know, Omar, you can share your opinion. But if we look at this right here, you might think to yourself, if this is the first time you've seen something like this, you're like, wow, this is really complicated. But if I zoom in and we just look at one column, right? Let's just look at this column. And for you as a cleaner specifically, because you know this overlaps with just your one-time job management. This we're not talking returning or recurring appointments. We're saying client accepts the quote. You get a confirmation email text. Then you're going to internally notify your team of the new quote accepted. And then we're going to move to the new pipeline stage, quote accepted. And then what do we do? We need to do from there? Well, we need to probably confirm the time and maybe get the payment information down. So what this client of mine wants to do is he says, well, there's two ways that people book. Either they can book automatically on the cleaning calendar, green meaning green is the client can do it without your help, and yellow means the tasks that you're doing, or they call in and the staff books on the cleaning calendar. Those are the two options. You book yourself, you call, we book with you, right?
okay.
And he said his younger crowd, they usually don't want to talk on the phone, so they would prefer to book. His older crowd prefers talking with somebody and confirming details, so they like to call in and they book. And he said, well, how do I get them to both go into the same process? I go, perfect. You book them on the same calendar, because now it's not a matter of, you know, what calendar were they booked on. It's just a matter of who booked it, but it goes in the same calendar. So we're funneling it through one process. So this is just one workflow, right? And again, I would doubt that, you know, you would disagree with this approach because it's going to be, hey, Patricia, you
No.
send me a quote, I accept the quote. And then you're going to say, cool, I'm going to confirm we've gotten your quote. I'm going to notify either the team or myself, hey, I need to go ahead and schedule you. We're going to move you in the stage saying, hey, accepted quote, need to schedule, because that's telling us where you are in the life cycle. And then I've got to either A, give you a calendar to book, or B, you can call me and we can book it with you. Guess what we're going to put in his email? Hey, here's the calendar link to book. And if you would prefer someone walk you through it, give us a call. We'll do it for you. That's it. And so that's automation number one. What's automation number two? He says, well, I don't want to confirm them automatically because I want to make sure that we have certain information and availability before we do that. I want to make sure there's no overlap. I want to maintain that kind of control. Cool. So once they booked, new unconfirmed appointment. How do we do that? Calendar settings. Make sure that the appointment booked is scheduled, not confirmed. That's it. One little toggle. When it's confirmed, we remove from the previous workflow, which is the follow up sequence. And that's what I was telling you about.
Uh-huh.
If you're like, what I do with all my automations is if I have something where I want them to do something repeatedly, the minute that they do what I want them to do, I'm going to remove them from that follow up sequence. So, for example, you're a mom, right? You've got
Uh-huh.
kids. When your kids were little, like maybe you're like, okay, you guys need to, let's just stick with the brushing teeth before bed, right? Let's just use that analogy, right? So you're saying, hey, you got to brush your teeth. You're going to keep telling them they need to brush their teeth until they brush their teeth, right? Maybe the way you tell them might ramp up, right? Like you give them the old mom, like, you know, brush your teeth, right? I don't know. But you get to that point. But the minute they brush their teeth, are you going to keep reminding them? No, they've done what you needed them to do. So the first action we do in workflow number two is remove them from the previous workflow. So once you're going to keep reminding them until they brush their teeth, trigger, once they brush their teeth, first action, stop reminding them. So we already do this as human beings. This is just a matter of like breaking it down in this like very robotic, systemized way. So for the reviews and referrals, what I would recommend doing is if we come back here and look at the active job workflow, what I do is basically once the job is closed out, we have moved to job close stage, right? So and you have a tag, right? You just have add tag, right? So once we
Uh-huh.
have this trigger of move to job close stage, or for you add job close tag, then that's gonna be what moves them into the next workflow, right? So review request is gonna say, okay, once the pipeline stage has changed to job closed, right? Which again for you would just be the difference would be tag applied, right? So it would basically
Okay.
be tag tag added, and then the tag would be job closed, right?
Uh-huh.
Then what I do is the condition, and the condition says um, tag includes left review, or I could have just left that up actually. Tag does not include left review, right? That's it. That's the only difference. Tag includes or does not include left review. So if tag includes left review, meaning they left a review, do we want to ask them for a review?
Hmm.
No. And so the benefit is if you have people who come in and they add a review and the system doesn't track it because they had a different name, or for whatever reason, the system didn't track it, right? Or you're uploading a list of contacts of people who've already left reviews. You don't want to ask them for reviews in your DBR, right? In your review requests. So you
Right.
can manually go in, click on in your contacts, click the little checkbox next to everybody's name, and then bulk action add tag left review. So now when you add your whole list to this automation, it's not going to ask the people who have left review because it ends right here, right?
I
Now,
think I do
how,
have that set up though. Let me just look at it really quick. I
yeah,
think
the
the
part
way
that I
that
would say is when they do leave that review, the
go ahead.
workflow that you were showing me that has that looks more like this for your
Uh-huh.
trigger, new review. You can see what I do is the first thing you want to do is find contact, and I know you did that already. You can pick
Yeah.
how you're finding them, so that could be you go down to new review, and this is reviewer name. You can't really, the other ones are really difficult to do. So what I do, and I'll walk you through how to do this one to manually check it. What I do is you find contact. I move them to, they've left the review stage in my referral review pipeline, but then I add the tag left review because you've now left a review. So what happens when they go back through the previous automation because maybe they came back to work with me, they're a repeat customer, or they left a review before I use the system. Well, they're going to come in here, job closed. Now we know they have the tag left review, and boom, they're not going to do anything because they already have that tag, right?
Yes.
So for
Um,
you, what you can do is because let's say their name doesn't match up. How do we check that? How do we catch that, right? Check this out. Let's go to this one.
I think what I did, just so you know, was I just set up a remove Google review tag. So if they have the Google review, they're just removed from the workflows of asking. Is that the same thing?
If you have that condition after the trigger, yes, that works too.
I have it as a separate thing. You want to see?
We can look at it, but that's where I think you might be potentially. I haven't seen it yet. That might be where you're potentially overcomplicating it. And it
Hmm.
might not even be that you're overcomplicating it. It might just be that I can help you further simplify it. And through that further simplification, you have less automations to look through.
Okay.
So sometimes when I say further simplify, it doesn't mean that you're doing anything bad. It just might be, hey, here's a little trick to like have one less automation, to click in and take out. So check out this one. Let's say you're like, okay, what if my client might leave a review, but their name might not match up? Here's what I do. This is in the first automation one I did. What I would do is I would do this right here, where it's like, hey, no, sorry. Right here, I say, hey, would you leave us a review? Right. And then what I did was I took the Google review. I didn't do the review action. So the review action looks like this one. I don't do this one. So what I do instead is I do an SMS like this, just a normal SMS. I do my review request here, but I take the review link, the review, Google review, Facebook review, Yelp review link,
Uh-huh.
and I make it a trigger link. Okay.
Okay.
So check this out. When they go and click on the trigger link, remember, like you said, hey, what if their name doesn't match? Right. What I then did, and Grant's on the call, he can tell you we did this. I then do the trigger is trigger link clicked. So now if the trigger link clicked is the Google review trigger link, I then create a task that says, basically contact full name, clicked the trigger link to leave a review. Check and see if they did, in fact, leave a review. If they did, add tag left review. If they did not, uh, do nothing.
Okay.
So
I'm
now,
pretty sure we have it set up. I think the system knows if it leaves reviews because it's
I think
been.
I think
yeah,
you're right,
so
Grant. I think what happened is her name in the system is Terry Star,
right.
and how she left the review was T Star, so it
Mm.
didn't match up.
And so when you have this automation, what it says is, hey, go and check. And so you and I know, okay, Terry star, T star, then you can go, okay, the system didn't track it. Let me go add the tag left review. So we
Yes.
don't keep asking her. But This is like a really nice fail safe that Grant and I did for one of his lawn care buddies,
Uh-huh.
and we basically just said, hey, when they click the review, let's go and confirm it. So that was like one of the early DBRs that Grant did. So like Grant was watching it like closely. So every time somebody would click on the link, he would go check, did they leave a review? Now, in his case, we didn't have anybody with a name mismatch, so we ended up actually removing the automation because his client was in like this small Midwestern town where everybody was just using their full name. That's not going to be everyone's situation. So if you want to have this like preemptive defense against people like changing their name or something, this is what we do. So and so click the trigger link, check and see if you got a new review. If you did, you can assign it to them.
Okay. Okay.
And this is just another automation that you would do. Just really simple, just two step. Trigger link
Okay.
clicked, add action, add task. Please check and see if they left a review. If they did, add tag. If they did not, leave out. And so then it also has like instructions on what to do.
Okay, perfect. And I'll show you, you want me to show you mine really quick, and then you can just tell me if I
Yeah.
did need to just add it to the other.
Yeah, let's take a look.
I think I need to just add it to, um, so what I did was, this was the automation. So I didn't put it, I just had it separate. See, so it's just down here, it's separate. So if they have the Google review, they're going to be removed from any of the automations that are in here, the
Okay,
workflow.
so let's look at those two and see what we're doing here.
This one's the first one that starts it.
Okay, let's take a look. So we have
And like I
okay.
said, these two steps are going to come out because that we already get a notification that we
Mhm.
got a Google review. So those two are just there temporarily,
Yeah.
but this
That-
will be what starts it. So I mean the trigger is the
yeah, the
automation
job completed tag. And then
hmm
we've got checking in on your cleaning experience, wait, checking on your experience text. Then you have a 75-day wait, $15 bonus.
This is a 75-day wait because I'm eventually getting rid of everything that's down here in this bottom one. The problem is I have a few people going through that workflow.
Yeah,
I changed it.
gotcha.
So after 75 days, because it doesn't go that long, so this will, everything underneath here will become deleted. And then what's going to take over, what's currently taking over is, gosh, let me think, right here. So the
Mhm.
outcome. So I tied
Oh,
it to
very
an
nice.
outcome. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. What you can do for the other automation to make sure nobody comes through it is you can remove all the triggers and leave it published. That way, whoever's in it still finishes it out, but the triggers don't bring anybody else in.
Um,
But if you're not, it looks like you're not
oh,
using them anymore because you have the survey submitted.
right, but this is for the outcome. So that one's still going to stay. Would you say make it different? So let me see if I can say this correctly.
So let's start. Well, let's slow down.
All
Let's
of
start with what
this,
you're trying to do first, because that's where the mapping is going to come in a benefit. Because what'll happen is otherwise you're going to get lost in this world of like trying to remember what does what and where and what order. So
so
let's
all of
let's
this is
map
going
out
to
what you're
stay
doing.
right here, though.
Uh-huh.
So all of this is going to stay. Once all of these 75 people come out, then I'm going to turn this off and I'm going to delete everything from below.
hmm
And the rest of this is going to stay as the automation. I just had
So
people, I
so what
built
are you
it
going to do if
accidentally.
somebody else comes in and then they start getting in that 75-day wait too?
When I delete the 75-day wait, they're going to be deleted because they will have already went through the other one.
Okay, so what I would do in the meantime is you can add an action above the 75-day wait that says remove from this workflow. So when they're done, right above the 75-day, it removes them, and then the other people who are already past that will keep going.
Okay, great. Okay. So add or remove from workflow above here.
Perfect. That way you can basically like let this one die off, right? You can let the people go through it, they're done, and then
Uh-huh.
you're safe letting them go through it without having to, turn it off. And if
Yeah,
you had
I
like a
accidentally built it.
yeah, go ahead.
Um, I accidentally built it. So just like this is it,
Yep.
right? Okay. So I accidentally built it on here and then I was like, wait a minute, I should use Alex outcome and do it that way so that when we get a review, we just have to do an outcome and then we are good to go.
Yeah, what I do, and don't forget to save your automation. What I do is with with this new cleaning client, what I'm doing is he does this to check on the cleaning experience as well as the text if they don't answer. And then when we reach out, we actually do the job outcome survey there. So what we do is on the phone is we say, hey, did you have like, a good experience or not a good experience, right? And then from there, if they said, hey, I had a great experience, he says, cool. And then we have automations that he will get an email with a survey that says, hey, fill out this information. And he'll basically say, hey, request review or whatever, or he'll just manually add them to the automation, whichever he prefers. If they say, hey, I don't have a good experience, then what we do is we push them into, hey, can we send somebody back out to fix it? What can we do to fix it? And then we try to go from the remediation stage. And so we do the review request at that point after the job outcome. So we do job outcome. Is the job complete? Yes, no. If job is complete, is customer happy? Yes, no. If customer's happy, let's ask for a review referral. If customer's not happy, let's send somebody back. If they don't want somebody to come back, you know,
Okay. I
tough
do
tough
like
deal.
that. So then, so I'll send the outcome as soon as they get the tag, right?
So you would have like if you want to scroll up, I'll show you. So your trigger is going to be job is done. You're waiting 12 hours, and then you can call and confirm, hey, did you have a good time? Like whatever. They're going to call back and say, yes, everything was great. Thank you so much. Cool. That outcome, positive intent, can lead into asking for reviews, right? Because it might be a response. But I'll share my screen really quick and show you
Okay.
what I'm talking about. So this one. Okay. So let's go back to the other automation. So with the active job workflow, what we do is we have just walking you through the process, right? We have the send invoice status. So this is like the very beginning of the pipe of the stage, right? So they've
Mhm.
accepted the quote. We're going to send them an invoice status. We're then going to follow up until we have upfront payment secured. Now for the paint, for this is for a painter versus for the cleaner. So we don't do upfront payment secured. We just do upfront payment method secured. So hey, we just need your card on file, right? Once the card is on file, we schedule the job. We then do a job reminder sequence. So this is where once the job is scheduled, I can let me show you really quick. Once the job is scheduled, opportunity change, move to, need to schedule, right? So basically once we have the payment information, now we can schedule them. Then we have a condition that says tag includes repeat or first time customer or does not. So if it does not include first time or repeat, like no tags at all, we know this is a first time customer, right? So
Mhm.
with a first time customer, we can add a tag and then that can say, okay, for their welcome and confirmation sequence, we can have a completely different sequence. If it's a repeat customer, we can have it again sound completely unique because now it sounds like you reached out. So either it's going to be, hey, we're so excited to work with you the first time. We're going to send you an email on how, on what to expect and how to prepare, right? If it's a repeat customer, we're gonna say, hey, you've been through this rodeo before. Just a reminder, if you need the expectations video, here it is. Otherwise, business as usual. Let me know if these details are still correct, right? So now it's like, oh wow, this is like personalized to me, even though it's automated, right? If they do have the tag first time customer, we remove it because now if they're coming back, they're now a repeat customer, and we add the tag repeat customer, right? So again, this can be whatever language. Then we add the task, and the task says, go ahead and add them to your cleaning schedule. And this is where it depends on your business. I typically, for any quote-based business, I typically don't want the customer to schedule on my cleaning calendar. I typically want whoever's managing the team and the staff to be doing that, right? So I can create an automation that says, hey, go ahead and schedule that task out. The benefit of doing this is that if you go to the calendar, right? I'll show you the main benefit of doing that. If I go to the calendar, let's say it's the painting job calendar, you can replace this with cleaning job calendar, right? But this is like your actual job calendar. Again, this is different than if you have like a nail business, if you have auto detailing, if you have a Cairo, that's different because it's going to be the same price, same time scheduled, no matter what. For a cleaning company, I mean, I don't have to tell you, you've probably seen it all, and that can change
Right.
different things. So if you go look at availability, the service duration, the longest I can make it, I believe, is 12 hours. So I can't do 13 hours, right? Now, let's say cleaning, maybe it doesn't take that long, but there's going to be business types where it does take that long. Think about roofing, landscaping, maybe a mechanic with a car. So what's nice is when I book it on my own, remember, it's only a 12-hour slot, right? But now what I can do is if I book it on myself, I can say, hey, I think this job is going to take us from Wednesday to Thursday. So I can literally drag and move over like this. And now let it load. I can do calendar. Wait, hang on. Let me go back because I have to select this painting job calendar. There we go. So I've got my calendar selected. And let's say I want to do several days. Now what it's going to do, I don't know why it's doing that to me. Oh, you know what it
The
is?
calendar's disabled.
Yeah, this was not a problem when I actually did it. But yeah, it's deactivated because it's a snapshot. But when I actually go to drag it, it will show you the availability. So let me see if I can just turn it on really quickly. Say activate. There it is. All right, let's go back. Let's try. Yep. Okay. So now I can do this. And so now I can do a longer slot, right? So this says 24, 1 to 2:30, but now I want to do like several days. Let go, boom, 22nd to 24th. You can't do that from the calendar setting, but I can do it from the back end, right? So now I can add everybody here and I can add my contact, right? So that's the benefit of doing it this way with those longer quotes. If it's a shorter quote, then you can technically have them do it, but I wouldn't do it for anybody where the time is a variable. With cleaning, time is a variable, right? Because it could take, 30 minutes, it could take 4 hours, it could take 10 hours, it could be scheduled for 8 and actually take 12, right? Who knows? So that's why what I do there is I say, hey, assign this task to whomever is in charge of scheduling. Go ahead and schedule this task in this calendar. And then remember what I was telling you earlier about reminding your kids to brush their teeth until they brush their teeth. I'm going to say internal notification, add this contact at this address to your painting job calendar. We're going to notify you every 2 hours until you do it. I'm going to tell you every 2 minutes to brush your teeth until you do it, right? Wait 2 hours, go two, and then it just cycles through. So the question is, well, how do I remove them? Simple. Once they actually have the job scheduled, trigger is the appointment booked. What's the first thing we do? Stop reminding them,
Yeah.
right? We move to job scheduled. We wait 5 minutes before the appointment, and then we move to the active job stage. So 5 minutes before we scheduled, let's say we scheduled, a clean at 1:30. 1:25, that task is going to move over. So now you're scheduling individual, whether that's you or somebody else, or whether that's you now and then somebody else. They're going to see, okay, these are the active jobs that people are working on. And what we're going to do is we're going to wait, let's say 8 hours after the appointment, like whatever your estimated time of completion is, whether you're like, okay, our average clean takes 4 hours. Great. Let's say 4 hours. Check this out. So we wait 4 hours. Then we're going to send an internal notification, and that's going to say whether or not this job is completed for this person at this address, fill out this survey. It takes 90 seconds, right?
Okay.
And this is going to repeat just like the brushing your teeth, brush your teeth until they submit that survey. Now, when they submit the survey, what are the outcomes? Because the job might not be done, right? We already established this could be like a 10-day job. This could be a 12-hour job. This could be maybe you waited 30 minutes, but it's a 2-hour job. So what we do is we have, let's ignore job complete. First, we have our delays. So I do for painting, we do a 1 day, 2 day, 5 day delay, right? Depending on when we need to come back, whatever. So now they can pick on a drop down on the survey, is the job complete? They're going to say, yes, it's complete. Or they're going to say, no, ask me again in 1 day, 2 days, 5 days. What's going to happen after that wait? You're going to wait 1 day, 5 days, whatever it is. There's going to be a to what? The survey. Hey, fill out this survey. Same exact email, right? So once it's going to keep reminding them, and you can keep delaying it as much as you need to until the job is complete. Once the job is complete, there's a condition, and this is going to apply to the cleaning calendar, right? This applies to any job. Is the customer happy, or does the customer want changes? If they want changes, what are we going to do? We're going to move to the revisions needed stage. So now you can observe everything. This person was in the revisions needed stage. There's a go to, and what does the go to do? It delays it by 1 day. And then what happens after the 1 day delay is the job done. And you're just repeating until it's done. If they're happy with it, great. They're happy, move to awaiting final payment. And so move to awaiting final payment, pop this open. The trigger is one of two things. Either its pipeline stage is changed and this would not apply to you because you're not billing them up front. But for people who do it down deposit, sometimes people will pay up front. Very rare, but sometimes they do. So 99% of people are going to go through here. Pipeline stage is active job. Stage is awaiting final payment, like the previous automation did. And then the condition is making sure that the customer is happy with the project, which in the previous automation, we are ensuring that they can't get there unless that is added. But with the invoice, let's say we say, hey, pay a deposit, and they pay the whole thing up front. They're not going to come into this automation unless the deposit is fully paid and the job is complete, marked, right? Which can't happen until the job is done. So you can ignore that one because you don't have that up front. Once they move into awaiting final payment, it's going to go right into here. You can ignore this. Basically, the job is closed, remove tag. And again, you can ignore that because that's just for people who do down deposit. So basically, it's just saying pipeline stage is changed to awaiting final payment. And then that could be where you send out the note reminder, hey, pay the invoice, right?
Huh.
Once the invoice has been paid, it's going to move to the job close stage with an internal notification that says, hey, congrats, your project has been finished and marked as fully paid. So if we look at the survey that we're going to do for the job outcome, this would be for the paint for anybody, and this does not apply to cleaning. I'll show you how we do make it apply to cleaning. If you're working in person on the job site, you're going to have people who need to sign off on the job, right? So, for example, roofing, construction, remodeling, they're going to do a final walkthrough, right? For those longer, bigger ticket sales cycles. Bigger ticket and longer sales cycles are going to have that final walkthrough with the customer. Roofing calls this a certificate of completion. It is extremely beneficial to have a certificate of completion. What does that mean? That means if you're doing big ticket or long sales cycle, have the customer sign off on the fact that it's done. Why? Because they can't take you to court. What are they going to take you to court over? Oh no, I'm upset that he did exactly what I told him to do. Oh no, I'm mad that she did a great job. But why do we know that you signed off and said that they did a good job? Because we have the certificate where you signed off on it, right? And think about it for you. If you say, "Oh, I like it, but you hate it," and I go, "Oh, cool, sign this." What are you going to do? You're either going to sign it and not complain, or you're going to say, "I don't feel comfortable signing that." And they can go, "Great. What's wrong? Let's fix it." And then you're going to say, well, I don't really like this or that. Cool. We'll fix it. Now that we fixed it, we're going to sign off on it. Yes. Now I'm comfortable signing off on it. Right. So the certificate of completion for some businesses is actually what they use to get their final payment released. So for roofers, if they're working with insurance, they have to have that COC to get the insurance payment released. But it's a really good beneficial thing to use because nobody's going to complain if they sign off on that. Right. You're either going to look like an idiot because you signed off on something that says you're happy when you weren't, or you're going to bring up your actual reason for being unhappy, which means let's fix it, right? Now, what do we do for smaller sales cycle or lower ticket? So not only cleaning, what about cleaning? What about pest control? What about maybe I'm trying to think of like home services where you're not usually present, but I know cleaning is one where usually they go to, and Patricia, tell me if I'm wrong. Usually they go, hey, here's how you get in. I'm going to work, right? Or hey, we're leaving the house so you can clean. Pest control is another big one. We're
Normal.
going to do it during the day. You know, keys under the fake rock. We'll be back later today. So what you do then is you're not going to have a certificate of completion because you're not going to wait for them to come home to sign off. That's why Patricia showed us, hey, I usually have a call afterwards to make sure they're happy. And what's funny is this guy does the same thing. Time of
Can I
appointment,
ask a
send.
I think
question
that they
about that,
don't.
Alex?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's up?
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Go ahead. Somebody was saying something.
Yeah, I was just going to ask with the certificate of completion, is that an automated contract that we could send,
You
or
can
what do you
send it to
recommend?
You can send it to them, or on the job outcome survey, you can add a field that has the customer sign off. So, like for example, this is the survey that I built for you, right? What you could do is customer happy with completion. You could have in here a new slide and go to signature, and then you could have this be the customer signature. Hey, are you happy with it? Yes, sign off here. I don't want to sign
Okay.
off here. Okay. If you don't want to sign off, what's wrong, right? Let's fix it. And then you would just change the logic here to is this job complete? We would then go to P6 or slide 6, which is the new one I just added, which is ask for signature. If the customer is not happy, then we're going to go to add any notes, right? Because any notes basically says notate what they're unhappy about, and then we're going to delay one day and ask you again tomorrow, right?
Okay. Got it.
So for you, Patricia, right? We have the follow up call survey outcome. So basically, this is what you were saying. Call, how did it go yesterday, right? Are you happy with everything that happened? So he's going to get this in an actual survey. And in the survey, he's going to say, hey, is it clean? Remember, red line is if things go bad. Are you happy with the clean? No, offer to send cleaner back, right? Yes, no. If they say yes, we schedule it. If they say no, then he has his own thing he does with them. Are they happy with the clean? Yes, ask for a review and referral, and then add them to an upsell campaign. If they don't have a recurring tag, because remember with cleaning, you have your one-time jobs and you have your recurring jobs. So if they don't have a recurring tag, meaning you're not a repeat customer, if we determine that there's no recurring tag, then we're going to add them to a campaign that will upsell them. Hey, we can come in and do clean. So he does like basically he does discounts if they come in. So like if it's a monthly clean, there's a 5%. If it's every 2 weeks, it's 10%. If it's every week, it's a 15% discount. Like he does little promos like that. And then we're gonna also push them for more one-time cleans, and we're building out his snapshot around holidays. So like 4th of July, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Easter, Valentine's Day, and we're gonna have campaigns
Mother's
all
Day.
around. Veteran anything where we think people might be invited over, we're gonna have campaigns around that saying, hey, like if you're gonna have people come home to your house in 2 weeks, we can come out and clean it before you get ready, and then we're gonna have little jokes in there like, your mother-in-law is coming. We're the type of people that vacuum the walls, and then we'll give you full credit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like just little jokes like that. So we're gonna push for more additional cleans, but again, if they're not on that recurring one, then we're gonna have that recurring one, right? So he does the job outcome survey the day after, just like you do. But for the longer sales cycle higher ticket, they have to do the job outcome with the individual, right?
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
imagine I like, built you a whole pool and then I just left without walking you through it. You'd be like, what the heck?
Right. Yeah,
You know what I
that
mean? You'd be
wouldn't
like,
be
hey,
good.
get back over here, right? But on the other hand, imagine you send a cleaner to my house and then I get home at 5:30, turn on the light, and the cleaner's standing in the corner like a weirdo, like, welcome home. You want to look at what I cleaned? You're like, whoa, you need to get out of my
We do
house,
that in a
right?
sense. Like, let's just say like we cleaned a mansion.
Yeah.
Um, I can't even remember how it was like 14,000 square feet. Um,
Jeez.
and it took us like 30 hours, right? So,
Higher
and
ticket,
so
longer sales
higher
cycle,
ticket,
right?
right? So like we said, hey, let's walk through. And we do sometimes with, like with each client if they're home, like if they want to walk through, we have a tag for that. So we're like, okay, we'll walk you through your home, no problem. Are you
Very
happy?
nice.
Because it's nicer. It saves us time in a sense. If there's anything that we missed, they tell us, we take care of it right there. I don't have
Yeah.
to send someone the next day.
And what you
But
could
for the
do
most
too
part, we don't do that.
with your automations, what you could do for that is have a question that says, on the onboarding form or the intake form, just say like, "Hey, are you going to be home when we do the clean? And would you like us to, or like, would you like us to walk you through it?" If they say no, add a 12-hour wait, follow up the next day. If they say yes, add a 5-minute wait, send the cleaner a notification that says, "Hey, walk through this form when you're done with the job." And you could just do that through survey field. Because remember that when they answer a survey or when you answer a survey with that contact UTM parameters that I already have set up for you guys, it's going to add it as custom fields. And those custom fields act as tags almost, right? Because it basically says, I can even show you what I mean, right? Not this one. Uh, where is it? Here it is. Request referral. Condition, right? So the condition is, do you want to ask for a referral or not? This condition is in a custom field, and the custom field is what we answered in the survey. So this can still act as a tag.
Okay.
So we have in the survey that I just showed you guys, do you want to ask for a review or not? Or a referral, right? If they say yes, it goes in here. So then we don't have to have the tag, we don't have to have like a lot of tags, and it can be nice for, your tag management basically.
Okay. Um, awesome. I think I'll make a couple of those changes today then.
But the best thing that you or anybody can do is always this. Like I told the cleaning guy, I was like, okay, the first thing I want to do with you is I want to map out like your full process. And I told him, I was like, this is gonna take a I think it took us like 3 hours to and it doesn't look that complicated, right? But this like full thing I think took us like 2 or 3 hours. I want to say 2 hours. Yeah, it took us like 2 hours to do this full thing. And it looks very simple.
Yeah.
But all we're doing is saying, okay, what do you do when this happens? What do you do when that happens? Who does that, right? So red is your trigger,
Yeah.
yellow is you, green is your client. And then we just go through it and explain the whole process because he wanted to learn how to do it. And so he's like, cool, I'm happy with this. Now you can go build it. And I have full confidence in you building it.
Yeah.
But, but this is what, like, anytime somebody comes to me and they're like, I'm a little lost on this or that, I would always say, like, let's look at your map first. Because if the map is not present or finished, you're gonna get lost in like rabbit holes.
This is true.
I've been there.
And that's what mine look like. Mine are like, I think it's my ADD that I just can't sit still and do it in one, like 3 hours focused on it. And so I keep coming back. So they're like,
You probably have like duplicates and overlaps and
I don't think they're that bad, but they're definitely like unfinished areas, like towards the end, like I finish and then I like
Yeah.
get bored, and I'm like, okay, gotta go.
So what
Um,
what I do for that is, and this is exactly what I told him. I said, what can we, and this is what will positively reinforce the way you approach this, okay? If you see direct correlations, causations rather, of you doing this and your life getting easier, you'll keep doing it. So the question is, how do we get such high like dopamine, serotonin responses from you doing this and seeing a direct return, right? So that becomes like and again, like I take a very practical approach because, I'm lazy. I probably have, some kind of attention deficit disorder, right? Who knows what kind of like, 21st
I find that
first
hard to
world,
believe.
you know, but what I do for this to like maintain my focus when I first started this is number one, because like work backwards, because I know this works, I'm able to commit time to it because I see the direct ROI that
Mhm.
gets me those quick wins. How do I get those quick wins faster for a new client like for this guy? What we're going to build first is, and I'll just ask you, I'm not even going to tell you, where do you see of the two white squares, which white square has the least amount of actions or steps in it?
The yellow.
Or the sorry, the like the sales system or the review referral. So this one or
Oh, the
this one.
review referral.
So
Well,
I'm
they're
going to
both
start
the
there first.
same. Yeah,
I'm
because
going to
the sales system has one and they have one.
Yeah,
So,
but like which has the fewer steps for me to build?
oh, gotcha. Review referral.
Right. So I'm going to build that first because I can probably build that really, really quickly. And then
Mhm.
he's going to get results. And then he's going to text me and say, wow, I'm getting results. Thank
Ah,
you. And I'm going to go in my mind, like let's think of ourselves as like just purely chemical reactions for a second. In
you're a
my
hero
mind,
right away.
I'm going to get dopamine seeing my client happy. And I'm going to be like, ooh, what else can we do? And then I'm going to go and build this one. And because this has more steps, right? So now let me ask you, I gave away the answer of what I'm going to build, but what has fewer steps? This or this?
The top one.
The top one. So I'm going to build the top one next. So I'm going to start with if you want to retrain your mind, because it's really hard to focus on the things that really make us money. If I want to retrain my mind on tasks that are going to get my clients happy, which means I'm going to get paid, I'm going to start with the smallest task first and I'm going to attack that and then the next one. Because when I attack the small task, I'm going to get not because it's small, because small task means I can do it faster. Faster means I can get results faster. Getting results faster means I'm going to retrain my brain faster. When I retrain my brain faster that this worked, I'm going to move to this. And when I move to that, I'm going to be like, ooh, what if I really blow them out of the water and do this? Because once I do that, I can then record my case study. And when I'm done with this full thing, let's say this is my first time building it. We know it's not. How do we know it's not? Right here, right? I already have it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to adapt it to his business model, but it's going to be way faster to adapt it. But again, think like the video I did building it out took what? It was
3 hours and some.
yeah, 3 hours. And then if you remove the part of me explaining the business model, it's 2 hours. So it took me 2 hours to build this full thing for Jake, right? So now all I have to do is go back and say, how do I adapt this to cleaning? So now when I go and adapt it to cleaning, it's going to take me, again, this is why I recommend niching down. But when I'm going to adapt it to cleaning, it's still going to take me probably like
100% accurate. And
an hour or 90 minutes because I have a better starting point. But that hour or 90 minutes is way better than the 2 hours. Because again, remember the 2 hours, that's just in a finished video, right? Like I told Jake, I was like, I had to re-record this like 3 different times because I messed up this and that. So really like the first build took me like 8 or 9 hours.
I know I
But
was
then
gonna
build,
watch it, and then I was like, "Oh, it's 3 hours long," and it's like, "Okay, I'm gonna watch this later."
yeah, yeah.
So,
And so the build, like it's gonna take a while the first time. But when you start getting that dopamine of like,
mm,
we build this and people like it, like I built out Gus's
yeah, that's what
piece.
I do on everything. Yes, Jake, for sure.
Yeah, I built out Gus's piece, and with Gus's piece, I did walked him through like the build, which is very similar to this, and then I just walked him through like, okay, here's how we translate the value. And he's like, oh, I'm getting like he's like, I've got somebody in my pipeline, I've got between 6 and 9 more conversations coming my way. Like this is going really, really well. So this
I'm sorry if you
piece,
can hear my husband. He's really loud.
no, I can't hear anything.
Okay.
But this piece is like the process the details will change based on the industry, but the overall process won't change.
Okay. Do you like Miro better than, because I noticed that you've been on this a little bit more
No, I
than
like
Canva?
I like Miro better, but I can't build as like I can't have different tabs. So I like Canva for that, but Miro is to me just looks a little cleaner.
It does. It looks, yeah, for
What
sure.
I do is Canva is where I save my stuff that I can come back to and look at. When I work with a client, I'll go to Miro and I'll build it out, and then when I'm done with that client, I'll just delete the whole thing
Okay.
because it's just going to be variations of the same thing I already have in Canva.
Okay. And I
But
have
I rec
one more question. I know we took a
Yeah,
long
go ahead.
time. If,
No, go ahead.
um, my last question is the one I asked you that I was talking to you about, the purchase from Shopify. I'm
Hmm.
struggling with building that out.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
automations. Okay, so let's
yeah,
you
so
want to
I'm
share your
struggling
screen
with,
again?
so here's, and this is what I'm talking about. Like I did, in fact, like I have something built. I'm working on it. Um,
Very nice, very nice.
and so right now and this is the thing where it's hard to even like to sit down and have her like help me build this would be just a waste of my time because it's a shit show. Like there's who's
Yeah.
on first, basically, right?
Yeah.
So like these are where the top of funnel where everybody comes in. But then if you look at these, and I don't know if you can even see what that says, but like
Yeah.
this goes to her SEO, her marketing company that she uses for like social media and everything else. They're ridiculously just inexperienced.
Expensive.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
oh.
expensive and inexperienced.
Yeah, dangerous combination. I've got a guy dealing with a client like that and
Like she's
some of
paying
the
$3,000 a month, and I don't want the jobs that
Jeez.
he's doing. Don't want to do that. Like she's paying me to do something different this here. I don't
Sure.
want to do social media posting. I don't want to do anything that he's doing, but she's paying him way. Like if you see here, this book talk is going to Mail Munch. This is set up in Shopify. This is set up, this is a Google form. This is
Ugh.
something different. And then there's another one where, um, let's see, something else is going. This is the only one that I built that's going into high level. But then there's different purchases from Shopify. And then like there's some other stuff that if it goes through Jot form, and then he is putting everything in to MailChimp. Does that make sense to you at all?
Yeah, I get what's happening, but it's not a smart
Not
uh
smart. Right. I
no.
agree. So my problem is that the most important thing she wants is, which I've already kind of built, is that if everything goes perfect, they join a circle membership, right? But they can pay in full or they can pay in payments. And when you pay payments, you can stop at any point. So you can be in there for 3 months and be like, no, this isn't for me, and I'm going to cancel.
Mhm.
So I haven't been able to find a good way to like the orders placed. I can't find a good way to add them in addition to like people who are already in the circles also still have those payments when they're on a monthly payment.
Mhm. So the two payments are going to be paid in full and then payment plan.
Right. And when the payment plan is when they're under a payment plan, they're doing that plan every month. So they could essentially keep going through this automation every single month. The
Right.
only option
So
I considered, and you can tell me whether it can be done or not, is if they're already in a community, then they get removed from this workflow. I don't know
so
if that's even
the
possible.
so are you trying to drop them into a membership or community of some sort?
Yes. So once they do all of this, I'm going to
Okay.
drop them into a membership, and then they're going to, there's an orientation course in there. And then that community is where they'll live and ask questions and do whatever.
Okay, let me show you what we do.
Okay.
I'm gonna share my screen.
Tags or CF? What is CF?
Click funnels,
Click
I would
funnel.
assume.
Oh, custom fields.
Oh, customer. Okay. So let's look at how you'd set up your automations, right? So what you would do is you're gonna have two triggers. So trigger one is gonna be paid in full. Okay.
Uh-huh.
This is going to be a product because I'm assuming you have two different products, one for paid in full, one for payment plans. If
Uh-huh.
not, that's what I would set up. So
Yes, she
paid in
does.
full, and then you're going to have your payment plans. So this is going to be a trigger, paid in full. Then you're going to have over here, you know, payment for, you know, product payment for whatever this partial payment or payment plan would be. So this would be
Payment
your
plan.
payment
Yeah.
plan. And then this could be, if it's a subscription, it would just be subscription started, right? If that's the type of, if it's a different type of payment, if it's like a subscription, or if it's a product, whatever it is, right?
Uh-huh.
Both of these are going to feed into, because you have two triggers, your automation, which is, you know, add to membership. You know, maybe after that, it's going to be your welcome email and details, right? Maybe after that, it's like what I do. So what I do is when they sign up, whether it's an affiliate or a direct payment, add to membership, sends email, and then in the email we have the book, the follow, the kickoff call, and I have automation that basically just say, you know, book your call, and I just repeat this until they book the call, and that pulls my automation. So this would be for you, automation number one.
Okay, wait, before you delete it, hold on.
I'm not gonna delete it.
Okay. I was just gonna screenshot it really quick.
So you're gonna have these as two different triggers. That's the key piece, okay? Are you with me so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next, what you're gonna do is you are then going to have automation number two or whatever, just a separate automation is gonna be this. This same one right here, the payment plan.
Uh-huh.
Now the trigger is going to be payment, hang on, plan canceled or failed, right? So you can have two different triggers. Again, basically it's going to be the payment plan has been canceled or has failed. What you're going to do is remove from membership. Or if you want to be more lenient, you can say, you know, email, hey, your payment has failed every day for 5 days. And then after 5 days, you know, remove from membership.
The only good thing about the payment plan canceled or failed would be if they request to end the membership, they typically would request it to her VA. So,
She's going to mark it as canceled.
okay.
Remember, it's just like with the calendar. Whether you book it or I book it, you're still in the calendar. Appointment has been booked. Whether you cancel or I cancel, Stripe is still going to have that notification of the plan has been canceled or failed. Email for trying to bring them back. If not,
Uh-huh.
remove.
So do you like the idea of the VA um adding the tag canceled or moving her in the stage pipeline and then letting that be letting it move
I would
from
just go into the products and cancel them. You can go to your payments and just cancel their payment. Go into Stripe and cancel their payment their subscription.
so she goes so it's Shopify. She can go into Shopify and just cancel the payment plan.
Is Shopify their payment processor?
Oh shoot, no. And they also use like Panda something.
Yeah, you would just go into that and cancel it.
And then how would it get back to
This automation. This is your trigger.
okay.
If you want a recovery, you can. If not, just go straight to removing and then recovery.
Okay.
So what I would do if you're saying they're reaching out and asking to be canceled is I would do payment plan has been canceled. I'm going to go into remove and then recover. So
Okay.
remove them and then, hey, try to bring them back. Now, if you're like, well, this isn't tied into GHL, okay, do it in Zapier, do it in NAN, do it in you know, in Make, who cares?
Okay.
This is just the automation that you would do.
And so the automation is to remove them from the membership and the community as well, right? Or is that all?
Yeah, remove them from everything.
Okay.
Kick them all out.
Okay. And that can be done automated. She doesn't have to manually remove them.
If they say, hey, I want you to cancel my plan, I would be like, here's a link, go cancel it.
Okay.
If you're like, hey, here you go cancel it. And then I'd have like, if they don't have, I'd wait like, you know, the next day, hey, were you able to do it? Or if they're like, hey, you can just do it for me, you know, however you want to do it. I usually recommend people like, hey, if you want to cancel, just go here and you can click cancel. I'm like,
Okay.
okay. And then if they're like, I don't see it. Oh, don't worry. You want me to do it for you? Yeah, I'll do it for you. And then I literally go into Stripe, cancel the subscription.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I can make that work.
Yeah. That's
I'm gonna
all.
work
So
on
all you're doing is that's why it's so important to map it out, because when you map it out, you realize how simple it is, right? So for
it. Mhm.
example, what is telling you to remove them from the membership? Like what, like for example, like think about it. This is the action. Remove from, membership and community, right?
Mhm.
At what point would you remove them from the membership?
When they don't pay.
So that's your trigger.
Okay.
Don't pay equals remove. Now, what are the two reasons that they would not pay?
Can't afford it, and they hate the program.
So, other ways of saying that, right? Because you're exactly right. But think about the technical terms. Can't afford it would be what? Failed
Failed
payment.
payment.
Hate it would be what? Canceled.
Canceled.
So that would be one trigger. That'd be trigger two. That both lead into this.
Okay.
And then you can even do an if else that says, based on the triggers, if you canceled, can we try to recover you? If you had a failed payment, can we downsell you? You could get crazy with it, right? However crazy you want to get with it.
Okay.
But this is your core automation. Now,
Okay.
on the flip side, when do you want to add somebody to the membership?
When they made a payment. When they
And
made a
that's
purchase.
and that's your trigger.
Okay.
And what's funny is when I map it out like this, it's like, oh, duh and duh. So then once we map out the process, remember the sticky note we had? Once we map out the process, what do you need to make this happen? I need to make sure I have a trigger for payment received. So what does that necessitate? A payment
Okay.
processor, right?
Mhm.
And then add to membership, I need what? A membership portal. Now we know with GHL you can do that because you have Stripe here and then you have the membership here. But wait a minute, I'm not using Stripe. I'm using something else that maybe, let's just say GHL doesn't work with it, just for simplicity's sake. Cool. So what do I need also? Automation platform, which could be GHL or it could be Zapier, Make,
It will
NAN, whatever.
eventually be that because what she's using is, I told you, it's a shit show.
Yeah.
Like, so she can do the payment plan in GHL.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you see right here, all I did is I just told you what three assets you needed, right?
Mhm.
And it's just based on one question. When do you want to add them to the membership? Trigger. And then this tells me what I need to create.
Okay.
And so I know significantly less about the business than you do. And right there, I already have a pretty good starting point if I could build something pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And you see, my questions are not complicated. It's just that it's like the plumber who knows where to hit the pipe, right?
Right.
So that's why that mapping comes into play so important. And so when you're like, you said earlier, like, I don't want to sit on a call with them because I don't know what I'm doing. It's going to be a mess for them. All you have to do is be curious and ask questions. Like, think about your first day on the job. What do you need me to do? I need you to, like, what was your first job, for example? Do you remember? Mine was like working at I think it was like some kind of like radio show. I like doing the
Um,
soundboard.
my first real job after I was 18, I mean, like fast food when I was
Okay,
younger.
fast food. Perfect. Yeah, I worked at Arby's for a summer, right?
I was gonna say you never worked fast food. Yeah.
So I did
I worked at
radio,
Arby's
then
too.
there you go. Yeah, Arby's is the go. If you worked at Arby's, you know that's some good food. Listen, you guys are ever backed up, go eat a junior roast beef. Thank me later. But when you're working at Arby's, right? Whatever you're doing, you're like, hey, what am I doing? And they're like, today you're gonna learn the cash register. So that would be the full process, right?
Uh,
Cash register. And then you're saying, cool. What's step one? Step one is stand at your position. Just stand at the register. And then what is gonna be the first trigger that comes in? It's gonna be somebody placing an order,
mhm.
right? So it's gonna be uh, places order. That's the trigger. Hey, here's what I want. I have to log, order, collect,
Amen.
payment, hand, receipt, and
Fulfill
then
order.
wait for Food, right? For them to provide the food. This is what I'm waiting on. When this action is done, what does that trigger? Food is ready. So what do? Give client or customer food. Which then, I don't know, was the Chick-fil-A thing, right?
My pleasure.
And so what they do is they take, this is what's funny, like I'm using a really, simple, almost silly example, but the best of the best businesses, they take this extremely seriously, right?
Uh,
That's why I all I had to do was write that and we all know Chick-fil-A.
mhm.
Or I say Chick-fil-A and we all say my pleasure, right?
Yeah.
It's hand in hand. Why? Because this is baked into their process. What is their process? It's the workflow breakdown structure. That's what's on my screen right now. And then we could get, wildly in depth. What if they do this? They don't have this. When I take the money, what if they have cash versus card? What if they have exact cash versus not exact cash, right? You can get really, really granular with it very quickly. But when you map it out, then I can look at it and go, oh, this makes perfect sense to me. And then you have number one, knowing what to do. Number two, executing it. If I can automate the whole thing, I don't have to worry about execution, right?
Okay, two questions. Um, I know you said sit down with them, but the reason I don't sit down with her is because they don't know what they're doing. Like they just need somebody to save them.
Beautiful. So
And
what?
so like I'm in that business because I work for her, that I
Mhm.
know everything that's going on and I can just see the shit show happening. So I'm looking at ways I can help her fix all of this stuff.
I'm so
That's the
happy
first
you
thing I
said
wanted to
this.
say. And then the second thing, for argument's sake, because this is a video and I know you're going to share it, um, I'd love for Jake to expand, or somebody to expand on what he meant by custom values, just so
Mhm.
that if somebody else were looking at this, they could use that too if it works.
Yeah, not to speak for Jake, but I would assume that he's talking about how you're having the trigger come in. So like if
Oh,
it's a
okay.
custom field, there you're just answering a survey. If it's a tag, you're manually adding or automatically adding the tag. I don't want to speak for him, but that's what I would assume.
Okay.
But he's driving, so I won't ask him to talk. But you said this, and I've been waiting for somebody to ask me this question for probably like 2 years now. So I'm very happy you asked me this question. You say, I'm working with a client. Everything they're doing is a complete mess. It is just like, what are you guys doing? Welcome to the SASO process. This is what I've been dying for. This is where you work with these higher ticket clients because they already have an established business. And through that establishment, it has become a complete mess because of all the things they're trying to add and fix and distracted and coming back. And we don't really know. We don't have a map. This is what we do, the SASO process. So SASO stands for simplify. This is the first S, simplify. What does simplify mean? It means reduce and eliminate waste. This is it, right? What the Japanese in Six Sigma or their process they call Muda, right? And you have multiple versions multiple types of waste. So let's think of all the ways that you can waste. I can waste resources. I can waste talent. I can waste time. I can waste money. I can waste,
People. Oh, talent is people.
yeah, maybe space, right?
Uh-huh.
And they have like, I want to say they have like 12 versions of waste, but just to give you some examples. So we can waste all of these things, right? Now, when you waste them, what are you doing? You're either not using them or not using them properly, right? If I um, waste a cup of milk, right? They say don't cry over spilt milk. I'm wasting milk. How? Well, if I'm spilling milk on the ground, is that what milk is supposed to be used for? No. Another way I can waste milk is just pour it down the sink. So um, I could also maybe pour milk into a recipe that doesn't need milk, and then I've wasted it, right? Because I can't use the recipe. I've wasted other resources. I can have Patricia stuck in her business versus working on her business. Now I'm wasting her talent because she's doing things that she shouldn't be doing. The opportunity cost is greater there, right? I can waste material. I can say, hey, I'm going to throw this perfectly operational broom in the trash or, whatever it looks like, right? But there's waste. And so anytime you have something that is inefficient, you have waste every single time. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to reduce and eliminate waste. And so there's two options in doing this. Number one is just the map. Like when this happens, what do you do? When this happens, what do you do? Now, the problem with the map is that if they have a terrible process, they're going to map out the most terrible, confusing process. Well, sometimes we do that and sometimes we do this, but then on Tuesdays we do that, days with an NY, we do this. And then you're like, okay, what does that make sense? So the second option, which is what you are more likely in attuned with, especially with your top tier individuals, your more established businesses, is this: learn and ask. And to learn, you must ask. So who are you going to ask?
In her business, me, because I know what's happening in it, like what they're
Now,
doing.
now you learned in her business. How did you didn't like come into her business and information was downloaded. How did you
Oh, ask the
learn?
client. Yeah, just ask the client.
Okay. Now, the client is doing things the way they want to do things. Would you agree?
Yes.
Even if they're unhappy with it, they're doing things the way they want to do it. Would you agree?
Yes.
For anyone who doesn't understand that, if you are getting 2 hours of sleep a night and you're like, I really need 8 hours of sleep, you are getting 2 hours of sleep a night because you want 2 hours of sleep a night, or you want something greater than you want your sleep. So you want to binge watch your shows and you want to stay up till 5 a.m. and you want to play video games all night and you want to, I don't know, whisper sweet nothing, whatever it is. You want something else more than you want this. So we have to ask. So what we're not going to do, or what we do first, is we first ask the client, because the client is going to reveal to you the absolute dog mess of their process. Now, who knows? Let's say you walked in the door on day one. Every time that I do this on day one, who knows how the business should be run?
I do.
Well, you do because you know it, but you
Oh,
don't know it day one.
sorry. Yeah, okay. The client knows.
That's who we're going to ask. But remember, they're doing what they think it should be done, which is a mess. So who
Yes.
knows how it should actually be done?
I'm sorry, repeat that again because my husband is so loud and he just came and shut the door and
You're good. Who knows how to actually do what the job?
The technicians.
The
uh,
technician. Don't ask the client. They don't know. That's why they hired you.
okay, so in this case though, she's a coach. So do I ask the VAs?
You ask the, yeah, you can ask the VA, you can ask anybody.
Okay. No,
You
but
can
when you
ask,
said technician, I was just thinking who, if I'm not asking her, am I asking the VAs?
I'm asking the technician, and then I'm asking the customers. Why am I
Okay.
asking these two people?
Because they are the one who experienced the current system.
Exactly. The customer is giving you money. The technician, it should be the business's customer, not the customer. So if you have a process that focuses on the customer, can you take care of every customer? No. What you do then is you focus on the technicians who take care of the customers.
Mm,
If you treat your people like kings and queens, they will run the whole business for you every single time. When I
okay.
go and work with businesses that refuse to increase their pay, all we do is give them acknowledgement. We encourage them. We ask for their opinion. We give them opportunity for buy-in. Every single time we can't even increase their wages, what happens to the results? Skyrocket. I can't give them more money. I would love to, and I'd love to grab the business owner and smack him in the face and say, pay him more money. I can't do that. All you have to do is give these people acknowledgement and credit and give them buy-in. What you say matters, and we're going to actually do what you say and use your ideas. Even if I think it's a horrible idea, I'm still going to let you try it out
Uh-huh.
because you're going to see either it's a good idea or a bad idea. That part doesn't matter. What matters is you see I try your ideas, and that creates buy-in because now you're going to start thinking, how can we be better? I don't care if you hate your job, it works every single time.
Okay.
So when you do this, the customer is still the focal point, but who is taking care of the customer? The technician. So you take care of the technician to take care of the customer, right? If we look at like a really stereotypical traditional family, it's like dad takes care of mom for mom to take care of the kids. And go look at studies. They've done studies on this. Do you know what there's two indicators of being a good mom and a good dad. Okay. Again, this is like a very typical nuclear family. So if that's not you, not that I don't care. It doesn't matter right now. Guess what? And you probably know this from experience. Patricia, what's the number one indicator of whether a mom will be good or not?
Shit, I don't know. She actually
It's
cared.
it's uh community support. Is dad supporting mom?
Oh,
Is grandma supporting mom? Our older siblings supporting mom? Our cousins, our friends supporting mom? Because mom is the superpower. Do you know what the
interesting.
number one indicator of a good dad is?
No.
Just being there. Just being present. And you know, as much as as much as dads definitely, I'm a dad. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I know how these other dads are like embarrassingly bad at what they do. Just being present is the number one indicator. Doesn't mean it's the only indicator, because I know some dads will hear that and be like, "Oh, see, I don't have to do nothing." But it's not the only indicator. It's just the number one indicator, just being present. So what's interesting is if you are taking like the role of, like, let's say, the head of the business, your number one job is not to take care of the customers if you have a team. Your number one job is to take care of the team and give them the support they need to be the geniuses you hired them to be, to take care of the customers. Now, the way that we ensure that they're all geniuses are through three little letters: SOPs.
Mhm.
Because if you have solid SOPs, think about when you like, again, you probably done this with your kids. You walk in the house, first thing you're doing, take your shoes off, put them on the shoe rack. If you're drilling that into them, you have an SOP. But if you're actually enforcing it, now they come in, take their shoes off, they don't have to do a thing. And your friends are like, wow, your kids are so well behaved. My kids take the shoes off and leave them in the front of the door, and I trip over them. It's like, yeah, because we enforce the standards we've put in place, SOPs, right? So this actually becomes the role. So when you want to figure anything out, you focus on these two things.
Okay.
And there's a lot of good questions. Like, there's one question, if you want to know like what your good product is, what you do is you ask your customers. You don't say, what do you like? You never say, what do you like? Because people lie. You say, hey, if we got rid of this, would you be super upset, little upset, or not at all upset? You don't even use it. And they say, track your percentages, and that will tell you what your main product is for your USP, and focus on that. And so there's this company that back in 2005, they tried to come out and they were trying to be a peer-to-peer business recommendation. I like this business, you go here. And nobody was using the feature, but the business was growing rapidly. And they're like, why are we growing so rapidly? So they did this questionnaire. If we removed this feature, would you be super upset, a little upset, or not upset at all? And they asked them, if we got rid of the peer recommendation, would you be same questionnaire? And they said, we don't really care. And they're like, what? This is the whole thing we're built on. And they go through all of it, and they find one question had a lot of people super upset if you got rid of it. And that was the ability to leave reviews on local businesses. And they're like, let's put that at the center of what we do. Exploded overnight. And that business is called Yelp. So they started and found the product that was their whole thing just by asking the customers. So for your coach, what do we want to do? We want to make sure that we're understanding what the process is. If you're saying, hey, this is what the process is, remember, this is where you have to come in as the coach, as the authoritative individual, and say, listen, your full map needs to look like, you know, this to here. I'm just making some random, looks like football plays kind of thing,
And
right?
in a sense, we've done that. Like I know all the complaints that they have, you know, so like in a sense, things I can already see what all the problems are with the
Yeah,
customers. You know, not a good orientation, not a good onboarding, um, duplicate payments, you know, getting charged when they shouldn't be charged.
right.
You know, all these things, right? Not anyone to answer questions, you know, when they need it right away. Just
Mhm.
all the things that are happening that have been happening for whatever amount of time she's been in business.
So what you would need to do is, through your knowledge, because you've already done it, but for those who haven't, you've already done these two parts. You know what all the VAs do, you know what all the customers complain about. Now what you need to do is you need to say, hey client, I need you respectfully to stop talking. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to map it out, and we're going to go leg by leg for this business, and I'm going to map it out. When this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. Then here, if this does not happen, we do this, we do that. You map it out, right?
Uh-huh.
Once you map it out and you have your product map, you're going to go on to A. And so A is going to be automate. And through automation, you're going to say, now that we have simplified, you have to simplify first. We can now automate it.
Okay.
So, for example, people go, this is the problem. If you don't simplify and you go straight into automation, what does that look like? Automation, by the way, is automation and delegation, right? Basically, can we automate it? Yes, automate it. Can we automate it? No. Should the main client be doing the job? Also, no. Let's delegate, right? So, for example, can we automate it? No. Is it kind of busy work? Yes, delegate. Can
Okay.
we automate it? No. Is it a busy work? No, it's very important. The owner should be doing it. As you add in more staff and you come back, can we automate it? No. Can we delegate it? Yes, but not to just anybody. We need it like to be a higher up individual. Great. Do we have that role? Yes, give it to them. Do we have that role? No, the client handles it. And you're just going through this iteration of promoting up, right?
Okay.
You ever see the movie Shark Tale?
Oh.
No. There's a funny scene where he's like, the main fish like owes this other fish money, and he's like, "You're lower than whale poop." He's like, "What?" And he like pulls open this chart of this like food chain, and he's like, "There's sharks, there's big fish, there's me, there's whale poop, and then there's you." Right?
It's called
So
Shark.
yeah, Shark Tale with Will Smith and
Oh, I'll have to watch
Renee
that one.
Zellweger.
Very maybe.
But
Okay.
basically, you have this flow chart that Gerber talks about in E-Myth Revisited. So you're at the top, and then you've got your C-suite or your managerial team, right?
Mhm.
And then you've got your supervisors, and then you've got your technicians. And what he left out, because I don't think they had it at the time, is you have your automations at the very bottom. So
Okay.
this is the flow you should go through. That's the flow. You start at the bottom and work your way
We
up. Can we
automate
automate it?
No. Go, who's next? Okay.
Low end, can they handle it? No. Higher up, can supervisor handle it? No. Can a manager or C-suite handle it? No. I've got to handle it. So for
Okay.
example, selling the business. That's going to go straight here, right? Nobody else, you're not going to let the technician or automation do that, right? So with the automation, you want to make sure that you have simplified everything so you can delegate it. Why? Because if you just bring people in with no simplification, no SOPs, no clear process and what we're doing, when we're doing, how we're doing it, how can you ask somebody else to do it? You can't. And so what happens is you fall into, if you don't simplify before you automate, you fall into what's called management by abdication, which is, hey, Patricia, I'm your client. I don't know what I'm doing. Come learn my business. You now have to assume a similar role to me. And now you're equally as confused as I am because of the complexity of what we've done. And so for you to hand this off to anybody, you have to then get them to learn your business. And when you do that, what happens? Your technicians, you have to rely on smart people, really smart people. And because you're not managing the business well, you probably don't have the right funds to pay them. So now what happens is you're going to be really lucky to find a smart person. If they leave, it cripples your business. What
Mhm.
I do, let me ask you, are there more smart people or dumb people in this world?
More dumb people.
Way more dumb people. You know, I'm really dumb in some aspects of life, right? So what I do is I say, let me build this for dumb people. Because if a dumb person can do it, a smart person's going to excel, right?
Okay.
So if I handle this for the worst person that I could possibly have in this job, I'll be safe,
Okay.
right? And how do you handle it for dumb people? You keep it simple, you document the process, you enforce the process,
Yes.
right? That's it. And that requires simplification. Once you automate it, it's super simple. You're either going to use automation, delegation, or future promotion. This is really nice because if I can't automate it, I'm going to delegate it. If I can't delegate it, I've got to do it. And that incentivizes me to look for my next role. So now I'm not hiring out growth. I'm not hiring out customer support. I'm not hiring out sales. It's like, well, wait a minute. Aren't those important to hire out? Yeah, but I'm going to hire out what needs to be promoted next because that's going to free up my time to stay at the top of the little pyramid.
Okay.
You have to stay here because you know what? This is the one role that you cannot outsource.
Okay.
So if you are not looking at, okay, I have a lot of tasks, I can't automate it, I can't delegate it because I need to be doing this, I need to promote somebody to handle this for me. Again, how can you promote if you've not simplified what roles they need to be doing? Now, once everything is fully simplified and fully automated to a degree, because what you're going to do is you're going to go through this cycle, right? Because once you have more money, you can hire. Once you hire, you can automate, delegate more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the next thing we're going to do is, okay, well, I want to promote people and I need business to do that. I have this system set up pretty nicely. What's the next thing we're going to do? The next S. Let's scale this puppy up.
Okay.
Because now when I scale it up, what do I have money to do? Automate more, delegate more, promote more,
Yes.
right? Because the process has been simplified. And when I scale up, I now have more money to simplify and automate more, right? Now, anytime you grow, you also grow in what? Waste.
Yeah.
You always grow in waste because things become inefficient. So what's the O? Optimize. So what is it?
Do you always grow in waste
Always.
even after you have like a set? Is that why you're always like looking to see?
It's cyclical. Yeah.
Okay.
Because when I optimize, you know what optimize just means? It just means restart. That's all it means. Hey, let me go back through and let's do, you hear this word all the time. Let's audit. Let's do time audits. Let's do production audits. Let's look at the data. Let's look at our metrics. Our sales script is converting at this rate. Uh, Now that I've simplified it, maybe I can, for optimization, maybe I can throw in some split tests and see what works better. But I don't want to split test too much, just one level at a time, right? Who's going to do the split testing? I've got to automate it. Who's going to am I going to automate it? No, I probably need someone to own that process. I'm going to delegate it. Do I want to delegate it to customer support? No, I probably want to delegate it to a manager over a department that handles conversions. Oh, wait, I don't have that role. That's the next role I need to hire for. When I hire for that role, it's going to allow me to what? To scale. When I can scale, I can further optimize. When I can further optimize, I can further simplify. And this whole cycle, when you go through the process, this is your growth period that you're going to see. This is time. This is money. The SASO process looks like this.
I didn't know what SASO standard for till today, just so you know.
Yeah, no one does. I have it in the
But
course,
I'm
but it's
glad
like,
I asked the question because that
yeah.
was very
But this is
intelligent.
what I take. Like when people say like, okay, well, and just really quickly, each cycle is a SASO cycle. So this would be your first scale, right? Because you're technically doing a cycle here to get into scale. So you have your scale. When you go to optimize, you're going to lose money because you're spending money on testing, bringing in people, whatever. You want to simplify. You're going to automate. Through that automation, it's going to launch you into the next optimization, and you're just repeating this over and over and over again. And it just moves you to a positive trajectory. Why? Because you're staying. Remember, you have to stay in that growth position. You have to stay at the top of your company. You are the leader.
I
So if
love
you,
this even just for my own business. Like
oh yeah, and it works with every service, any business really. That's where it works from. And this is heavily inspired. If you want to have like a more technical engineering approach, it's heavily inspired from the Six Sigma approach. The
oh,
issue that
do
I
you
had with
think
Six
that
Sigma is that it's
did you
very
are you certified, are you whatever
no,
it is,
no. I
certified?
read the certification book and I went through it, and the a lot of the portion of going from a so yellow belt, you take a course, but to get to green and black belt, you have to like do practicum hours with a team. And I'm extremely self-aware that I want to do things my way. So I like working with people, but not for people. And I know
Yeah,
that could be,
that's yeah.
I'm sure we all relate, and I'm sure, we could call that a hindrance of mine, but I'm very self-aware. So at least I don't put myself in positions I don't do well.
I kind of feel like for me, it's also freedom. Like I don't want to be tied to anybody else's calendar. Like I don't like I
Well, I
like
feel
my
like, yeah, I agree with that. And like a further extent is, I think as entrepreneurs, we have to have, to a degree, a certain self-inflated view of self. If that makes sense.
uh,
Said self too many times. I think we have like an inflated view of self. So I try to remain humble and acknowledging what I do and don't know. What I think that I do very well in is I think I do really well in having the patience and the words to explain something to somebody. Like for example, we're on a hour-long call and we're at 91 minutes already, right? So like I'll stay here and talk all day because I enjoy the education and the collaborative process. Because I
mhm.
have people that will then leave these calls, message me and go, "Hey, I just closed a client off that." I'm like, that's what I love, right?
Yeah.
I found that a lot of the people that I've learned under, they will kind of give you like these like adages that they don't really understand themselves, that they've just heard, and then through that experience I learn on my own, and then through that learning on my own I learn by doing, but I have to stay at the forefront of what we're doing.
Mm.
Like for example, if you start learning how to use a typewriter, that's you're not going to be at the forefront of technology. So if you have if you have like a someone trying to teach you like, oh, start here and go there, like I went to college, I have a degree in project management, and of all the courses and things I took, I just thought it was a colossal waste of time. Just absolutely colossal waste of time.
I mean, I have a master's degree and I would agree.
Yeah, for business, it was a complete waste of time because what they don't like, I've read like the books I have behind me. I could give you guys, like, if I gave you just what's on my bookshelf, I have like maybe 40 books total. Okay. If I
Mm.
just gave you what's on my bookshelf, you would have a better education than you would have at most universities for business.
Yeah. For me, it was my minor in marketing that like I love marketing and that's why I mean it created that love for it, but that's I paid a lot of money for that.
And I think they missed the mark. I honestly have a better education from the books behind me and from
Yeah.
just doing it myself than I do from any degree. And because when you read, when you listen to like CEOs speak, you're listening to people who are extremely successful, right? if I'm going to listen to somebody, and this is not a drag on anybody, but if I'm going to listen to somebody whose business has capped out at 200,000 a year, I'm not going to exceed that level of knowledge, right? It doesn't make sense. Now, if they've coached somebody to, millions and millions, yeah, that's different. But you get limited by your instructor. So how can I learn from the smartest, most successful business owners ever? It's just by listening to them speak because I can't get in front of them. What does Hormozy charge for a 12-hour day? It's like
Yeah.
125,000 or 50,000, right? I don't have that to just
Yeah.
blow on a mentor. So when I'm starting out, what do I say? I say, well, I can pay $20 to read his book. I can pay $1 to get his ebook. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, how do I apply this? Well, I got to go out and do it. And so that's where I've taken like this. The Six Sigma approach is a very engineering oriented approach that they started over at Motorola. And basically, the idea is how do we create? Again, think about this. Their main goal at Motorola was how do we have as few defects as possible, right? So Six Sigma refers to deviations, and they say I think it's like 3.6 deviations or defects per million products. So if you create a million products, how can we have less than 3.6 problems or bad products, right? And so they look at all the structure and breakdown. And if you read a Six Sigma approach, traditional versus lean versus agile, right? Because there's different variations of it for different pieces. And what you learn every single time is that it is combination. It is basically simplification, automation, scale, optimization, and you're doing it in what they call iterations or sprints.
Okay.
Sprints. These are sprints.
Yeah.
Each cycle is a sprint. So when I looked at it from that point of view, I was able to take this more macro simplistic approach because I think sometimes people overcomplicate things for the sake of sounding intelligent. And I just came up with this. I was like, oh, I can use this process for anything. If you simplified like your cleaning schedule, like you weren't cleaning this, but like for everybody else like just you're cleaning your house. If I can simplify my cleaning schedule by being intentional with my calendar, I can then structure how I delegate these roles to myself and to my wife, or my wife delegates it to me. Like we're a team. And then now that I can delegate it, now that I'm more organized and I have more time on my plate and I'm more intentional, I can actually do more chores before she comes home, and now she's very happy. And then I can optimize my cleaning schedule. If I'm already in the bathroom, let me just clean the bathroom, right? And it sounds so silly and simple, but it's like it's again, it's extremely practical. It's hyper practical. Any business you put me in, this is the process I'm going to go into. If I automate before scale, what am I doing? Management by abdication, or I'm automating bad results. So now we're just going to get more bad results when I scale it up. If I scale before automation, what am I going to do? I'm going to put too much weight on the team. I'm going to rely on management by abdication. They're going to break. They're going to leave. The whole thing's going to crumble. If I optimize too early, or if I start with optimization, what's the problem there? Well, I haven't scaled up, which means my data is not accurate when I go to make a decision, right? If I flipped a coin heads, tails 10 times and I got tails 9 times, and I say, oh, my conclusion is that you will get tails 90% of the time, when really it's closer to like 64% of the time. I can't remember which side's technically heavier. But if it were a perfectly balanced coin, it'd be 50-50. But because I flipped it 10 times, my data is skewed. Why? Because I haven't scaled up my data collection. So now my optimization is incorrect. So you can't optimize. So I have to first start with eliminating waste. That's why that order comes in that order. So some people all the time, I get this all the time. What do you think business owners want to do every single time they come to me? What step do you think they want to do every single time?
Scale.
Scale. Every single time. If you read Hacking Growth by Sean Ellis, that's the book I'm working on right now. He has this really cool part where he talks about people going to raise capital too early or grow too early. And he says the biggest problem they don't have is they don't have product validation. What's product validation?
Reviews. No.
5 guinea pigs.
Oh.
He says you have to have your early adopters, and if you treat them right, they turn into your early advocators, your raving fans, who then they will share everybody. That's what I call the Jesus marketing effect. 12 disciples spreads the word for him, right? If you try to serve it, think about this, right? It doesn't matter if you're religious or not. Think about this. Imagine the story of Jesus now goes like this. Jesus took care of nobody. He was rude to everybody. He did nothing spectacular, and he just tried to tell everybody, "Look at me," and did nothing of any note. That sounds like half the scam affiliates and frauds we know, right?
Yes.
Again, just take the story at face value if you disagree, just for example's sake. But if we flip it and say, hey, he really took care of his 12 people closest to him, absolutely blew their mind. His early adopters became raving fans who then spread the word to the point that most of them were killed off. It's like, maybe now like it's worth considering or at least hearing out, right? Again, you might still hate the product. Doesn't matter. The fact what we're talking about is early adopters pushing the product for you. Validation, product validation. And so that's what Sean Ellis talks about in terms of he says love begets growth, right? Love begets. I think he says precedes. I like begets a little bit better. But love begets growth. Growth does not lead to love. So people say, "Oh, if I get in front of everybody, I'll find people who love me." Right? And you're like, "Well, wait a minute. This is what I talk about. If you take a pile of dog poop and you throw money at it, you're going to get, eyeballs, but they're going to be laughing at you because it's still a pile of dog poop, right?
Right.
But if I make sure that I now have, a brick of gold and I throw money at it, now people are going to see, oh, this is a brick of gold. This is awesome. And this is literally the path that it goes into, right? So this is simplify, make sure you have your product validation, make sure you automate, prepare your sales conversion mechanism. Now let's generate traffic. So now when your eyeballs see it, they like what they see. So love has to precede growth. Do you know what they say the number one indicator of virality is? Like something going viral? The number one precedent of something going viral is how much its early users love the product. That's it. So when somebody wants to measure, is this going to go viral? They look at percent love or, usage, right? The usage would be like the correct terminology, but it's love is what usage indicates. Like they love the product over percent users. So it's usage over users. And then they indicate what type of usage indicates love. So for Twitter, they found that if somebody had 30 followers, exactly 30 people they followed, they would use the app more frequently. And so now the percent of users or usage over users, what they did to increase their usage was they said, hey, what's the first thing you do when you join Twitter? Follow these accounts, right? That's what the first thing they do when you make a Twitter account. Follow all these accounts. Here's people you may know. And they said, now why? That was the question. Why? Because now your feed is full of people you might enjoy. So you're more likely to come back. So when the percent of people who loved using the app was closer to 100%, you have something that's viral. And what's interesting is that they found it didn't matter if it was 10 over 10. It didn't matter if you had, 100 users and 99 liked them. Those statistics indicated virality. And so then they said, cool, what if we ramp this up to, 1,000 people? And now we're at, 980. Yep, we're going to go viral. And then what if we ramp this up to 10,000 and we're at 800? Yep, we're going to go viral. And I think the number they found was like over 40%. I think that was the number they had at volume. And what's funny is for people who are like, oh, I got shadow banned on social media. No, you didn't. You didn't hit these numbers. That's how they indicate a viral piece of content. Of the people viewing it, how many engage with it? Usage over users. It's not total comments because one guy is arguing with somebody else in the comments. It's how many total users engage over how many total users saw it. How many total users of your product love the product indicated by certain usage over how many clients you have total. That's what determines virality. And so the book Growth Hacking basically is all about how do you find what that usage metric is, and then how do you use that as your marketing tactic. So for Dropbox, they were like, you get 256 gigs of data if you invite somebody, PayPal, if you invite somebody that you're going to send them money to anyway, then you have more people using it. You invite one person, that person invites somebody, so on and so forth. They daisy chain, we go viral. It wasn't how many times they sent payments. It was how many people they sent to. If you look at Slack, when Slack became big, they determined that it was 2,000 total messages. Why? Because now it's a force of habit. And if you have a force of habit, you're going to invite other people to use that messaging platform with you. And right there, they've indicated that was the threshold or break point.
Who's that book
So-
by? You said growth hacking.
Sean Ellis, Sean for Sean, and then Ellis, Ellis.
Oh, is it called hacking growth?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, Hacking Growth. Yeah, great read. But it's really interesting because what they
You're
cover
making
with
me
hacking.
poor over here, Alec.
I know. Well, if you read them, and then maybe it'll help get a good ROI. That's at least what I lied myself about. But all they cover in the book is number one, identifying that usage rate, and then they cover like the pirate metrics, which is really interesting. So if you read the pirate, yeah, you probably know them, right? Um, it's acquisition, activation, and retention.
Mm.
And I think they have a few more, but this is activation is or acquisition is what? Get client. What's
Mhm.
activation? Onboarding, experience, and pushing that growth metric, getting them to invite, getting them to use free data, whatever. What's R? Retention, which is
Keeping them.
pulse. Just keep your finger on the pulse.
Mm.
That's it. So say if you focus on these three things, the money flows in. Now I think he goes more. I think he has like more A's and more R's, but this is basically what it boils down to.
Okay.
And then what's funny is when you go to build your team, your company, your back end infrastructure, these are your three departments.
Okay.
You have people who are worried about getting new clients. You have people who are worried about onboarding them, having a great experience. And you have people who are worried about retention, the good fulfillment, and keeping them. Right.
Mm.
This is what it boils down to. And then what he covers in the beginning of the book is basically saying these are not three different departments. You need these to collaborate. Because if I try to onboard somebody if I onboard the wrong person, that's gonna be a bad experience. If I try to retain a low quality versus high quality client, that's not gonna work out well. So if they can all work together, how can we bring on our dream client, give them a great experience, and then retain them? So they have to work together because all of this is going to bleed into what? Your market assets.
Ooh.
I talk about it all the time. How many phone companies do you see talk about how they treat their clients? It's like none. They all talk about how to get a new client. Oh, switch to us, switch and save, switch and save, switch and save, switch and save. New phone, switch and save. It's never like, hey, you've been a great client of ours. Here you go. So if you focus on taking care of your core adopters, even just your core client base, if you have clients already, take care of them. If you take care of them, they will literally tell you what to do and how to get more of them. And there's two ways to talk to them. Talk to them, look at their actions, data usage. That's it. I can tell you how I feel, or I can show you how I feel. That's it. Like for the guys out there, you ever be like, "Hey, honey, what's wrong?" And your girl's like, "Oh, I'm fine," but her body language is like, "I'm gonna like I don't know, hurt you in your sleep," kind of thing. So sometimes their actions don't match their words. Okay, right? If you're married to a Hispanic woman like I am, so you've got to go with actions and words, right?
Yes.
Yes, that's a very important thing. And for men,
Good husbands learn that.
yeah, and smart wives train them very early. I saw this funny quote from this
Yeah.
lady. She said, she goes, "If my husband died, I wouldn't get married again. Not because I don't love my husband, but because it took a really long time to train him."
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought that was funny.
That was good. Thanks.
That say-so process, you can take that to any business and make them good money. And so when you go through, like for
If I
you,
could just learn
Patricia,
how to map.
we already know the answer for you, which is this client is not simplified. But if you walk into a door and I had people message me all the time, they're like, "Hey, I asked this guy if he has A, B, and C, and he has everything." I'm like, "Cool. S is checked off. Let's go into A." And this guy goes, he has his office manager doing everything, and they have a fully perfect system. Remember, when we automate and delegate, we want to push tasks down. So let's take tasks they're already delegating, and if we can automate it, we can take a lot of that burden off of the people who are doing the job, number one. But number two, they can now own that process. And because they've done the job, they can now split test and make their own innovative ideas. It's like, oh, you can now empower those people. What's that gonna do to your employee retention? It's gonna shoot through the roof. It's gonna shoot through the roof. I know because I did this with an industrial cleaning company, and they paid horribly. And everybody they hired was usually, they had no GED, former inmates, formerly incarcerated persons, right? Very low education, some of the sweetest people, nicest people, and you know what? They had a lot of good ideas. And when I, out of sheer laziness, just said, "Hey, you guys do the job every day. What do you think would be a better way of doing it?" And what's funny is this is what happens every time. This is why when you do your conversation for for simplification, I recommend number one, telling the client, I'm going to ask them to tell me what they think, and I need you to sit there, shut up, and not say a word. Because if they think that you're going to get on them for them saying that they don't like how you're doing it, you are so nearsighted, it's embarrassing. And I'm very, very strict on this. Like, I tell them up front, like, what is that? It's like that mom face. It's like, listen, we're going out in public. You will not embarrass me in this grocery store, right? You got to give your family the pep talk, right? Maybe you're going to like a family's event and you're like, listen, spouse, you are not going to bring up the election at Thanksgiving, right? It's like the Thanksgiving talk that explodes everyone, right? Every 4 years. So it's like I tell them like, listen, if you
No
utter a
hot
word,
topics.
yeah, I tell them, I said, if you utter a word, I will kick you out of that meeting.
Mm,
Because why? If the technician's opinion is now skewed, am I going to get the right answer? No.
no.
You're not going to get I need the technician's point of view. I don't care how wrong, backwards, whatever. What is your point of view? And then I can go and say, here's all the information. And I always ask the business owner when they do interrupt or they do say something or they huff and puff because they're very sensitive people. I always ask them, I go, hey, do you want to be right or do you want to have a lot of money? I can't be both. No, because if you could be both, I wouldn't be here. So which one is it? And what's funny is sometimes they will say, "Well, I've been running my own way," and they revert back like a toddler. And it's always the men. Uh, I want to do it my way. Okay, have fun. Let me know when you're ready.
Mm.
And I leave. Like, oh well, I'm paying you a lot of money. I'll send it back to you. Like I do not need number one, I don't need your money. Number two, I refuse to work with people who refuse to let me do what you pay me to do.
It'll never work out anyway.
It'll never work out. They're not ready mentally. The analogy I use, one of my favorite analogies, if you guys watch Squid Games, season two is like very philosophical, if you will.
Mm.
Season one, they go into the Squid Games, they're playing red light, green light. If you move after red light, boom, they like shoot, they gun you down. And then everyone goes, "Oh wow, like this is not good." And people freak out and a lot of people like get eliminated, right? Season two, he comes back into the game because he's trying to take it apart. And he has like a little chip in his tooth that he's like tracking his location. So he's thinking, oh, they're going to come in and rescue me and we're going to stop the game before it starts. He gets into the game and what does he realize? Oh, they found the chip. I'm now back in the game. So
Mm.
what does he tell them all? He's like, guys, I've played this game before. If you move when they say red light, they're going to gun you down. And what do they say? Oh, he's drunk. He's crazy. He's blah, blah, blah. But what happens? Red light, someone moves. Boom. What he said happened, then happens, right? And what do you think after that? Green light, no one moves. And they go, "What do we do?" Did his instruction change? No. Did his experience change? No. He does not change what he's telling them to do.
Mm.
What happens? They went from I'm not listening to holy cow, we had better listen. And what's the only thing that changed that? Experience. And so because experience leads to self-realization. Because I can't make Patricia realize I need to change A, B, and C. Only Patricia can realize that. Same goes for anybody.
Yeah.
So when you're doing your marketing copy needs to focus on what? MOR, moment of realization. Because one of two things is going to happen. You're either going to wake them up and they're going to say, oh, I need a better way. I'm going to go with him or her. Or they're going to say, he doesn't know what he's talking about. They're going to go do it. They're going to move after red light. They're going to go, oh, crap, I should have listened. And then they're going to come right back to you. But you can't convince somebody. Number one, you should never be convincing anybody. What you're doing is you're planting the seed. So when they recognize this does not work, they're going to come back to the only person who told them this was going to happen. And if you have no experience and you tell somebody this is going to happen if you do this, you're going to be positioned as a subject matter expert very quickly in their eyes. If I tell you, for example, Patricia, tomorrow, 12:30, you're going to see a cardinal land on the left side of your car. She's like, what the heck? And then she goes out and she sees it. She's going to be like, okay, so that's weird, right? She's going to view me as like, I don't know, a witch or something, right? Who knows? But that's going to change her perception because what I said would happen happened. Now, if I flip it and I say, hey, listen, and I did this with somebody last night, he goes, that he's trying to close a client and the client says, hey, I have a business coach and the business coach is telling me I need to hire a team before I worry about sales. And I go, ask him this, because questions help with realization. If I tell you you're not sleeping well, you're like, "Ah, I'm sleeping fine." If I go, hey, are you experiencing these symptoms? That's how every commercial starts. You go, I am. Oh, it's because you're not sleeping well. Oh, I didn't know that, right? Or you go, ah, that's BS. You go to sleep, you wake up, I'm having that symptom. Oh, that commercial was right. Let me go buy the, I don't know, slap chop, right? Who knows? But with this guy, he goes, my business coach is telling me I need to hire a team first. I go, great. Ask him this. Ask him, do you have the funds to cover the team? I'm not going to say you don't have the funds. I want him to say, I don't have the funds. I say, do you have the funds to cover the team? He goes, no, but I have jobs in the pipeline. Great. Does jobs in the pipeline equal cash to pay your team for a long time? The answer is no. Should I tell him that or should I get him to tell himself that? So I go, hey, do you think those jobs are enough to pay that team for 6 months? Oh, absolutely not. Do you think that you would sleep well at night knowing that you can't pay your team and that you're hoping for jobs to come in to pay your team? Oh my gosh, no, that makes me nervous just thinking about it. So do you think it's a good idea to hire a team before nailing down sales? Absolutely not. Yeah, I completely see what you're saying. I got to go talk to my wife. We're going to set up a call with you Monday. Done.
Thank you.
And the guy was like, this is awesome. I'm like, and again, we didn't make a single statement. It's just asking questions. You can give context like, hey, like, do you think you'd sleep well at night? Like, I don't think I would be able to, but that's just me.
Right.
And so in that moment, by asking questions, when you ask a question, the beauty of asking questions in sales and the collaborative sales process is that if I ask you a question, you have to ask yourself that question. So for example, if I say, like, Patricia, I'll bother you since you're off mute already. If I say, Patricia, what's your name?
Patricia.
Patricia. Now, she did it very quickly, but she has to ask herself, what's my name? My name is Patricia. Now, watch this. Patricia, what year was your, let's say, what year did you buy you have, I think you have a dog, right?
Yeah, I have a dog. I have
Okay,
dogs.
what year did you buy your latest dog?
Um, last year.
So notice her eyes go off to the side because she's trying to recollect. And she asks herself in her head, what year did we buy the dog? Oh, yeah, it was last year.
Yeah.
If I say, what's 2 plus 2? You're going to knee jerk 4. But you're asking yourself, what's 2 plus 2? If I say, what's 2 plus 2 times 8 minus 16 divided by 3, then it's like, okay, well, hang on. What is that? Well, what's this? Then what's this? Well, you're asking yourself. So the way that I get you to tear down your own walls is not by saying, Patricia, your name is Patricia, because you're going to say yes or no. If I say, Patricia, your name is Sally, you're going to go, no, it's not. So if I mess up what my conclusion or what I think my conclusion is, if I misjudge you, I'm out of the game right away. Because the minute you say no, your walls are up and you're in defense. But if I get you to ask yourself, I'm never wrong. I'm safe, right? I'm never wrong. So if I say, Omar, like, you live in this city and I'm wrong, then I look silly. But if I say, Omar, what city do you live in? I have the right answer every time because you're going to tell me. So when you're dealing with the clients, the way that we get them to go the path we want them to get to is think about what do I want to tell them? What do I want them to believe? And then just make it a question. So like, I don't want to say you shouldn't hire people before you have your sales system. I should say, do you think it's smart to hire people before you can afford to pay them? Then he's got to ask himself, do I think that? And he's going to say no. And if he says yes, then okay, cool. I don't, you're probably not the smartest guy I want to work with anyway, right? That's probably a red flag. So when you go and do the say so process, you can ask him like, do you want to make money or do you want to be right? Well, why can't I be both? Well, if you were right, then don't you think you like, then why am I here? I'm taking what I want to say and putting it in question format, right? And then he's
Right.
got to ask, oh yeah, you don't need to be here. Go away. Perfect. Or, oh, I hired you here because maybe I'm not right. Perfect. Either way, it's a win-win for me.
Right.
So when you go to your clients for the say so process, that's basically what you want to take them through, which is, you know, and the question number one is always like, are you happy with this piece? Like, do you and you want to really like focus on like, are you happy with how your business is running? And if they say yes, then you can get specific and might find a no. Like, are you happy with how it's running? Yes. You have good traffic? Yeah. You have good sales? Yeah. You have a great conversion rate? Yeah. Your team is happy? Yeah. You work very few hours? Yeah. Perfect. You don't need me. Are you happy with how it's running? I am. Do you have a team in place? Yep. Are they happy? Well, I mean, I think they are. I mean, they say this and whatever. But no, I think they pretty are. Okay. Are your clients happy? Yeah. So you get no complaints. Well, we do get some complaints. Okay. So maybe they're not as happy as you think they are. Are you tracking how happy they are? I'm not. So how can you say they're happy or not? Oh, that's a good point. We got to track it. And that's where simplification starts. I can't eliminate waste if I don't know where the waste is. So if you watch that video, the 3.5 hour video, basically it's covering like have this system in place. You can look at your numbers and let the data tell you.
I'm gonna watch it today. I'm gonna watch it today. I've had a lot going on, so
Yeah.
and I ended up sick after I got back from.
I know it's that time of year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't been sick in a long time, like a couple years, but I definitely got it. I'm good now. I'm on the tail end of it, but
that's good.
now I have to catch up. So
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
And so like if like, you know, you've got a coach or someone in that same position, I would say, "Oh, like do you like playing catch up?" Now, I know it's a stupid question.
No.
But if I say, "No, you don't like playing," like now the novice will say, "You need a business." This is where people mess up with sales copy. You need a business that runs without you. And you're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I've heard this all before." So I'm gonna say that in a question format, and I'm not gonna use any trigger words or any buzzwords, right? So I'm gonna say like, "Man, can you imagine if like, you know, let's say you got sick, whatever, kid got sick, you know, whatever, and you know, like even while you were sick, like you're still getting notifications like payment completed, happy new review, like your team just saying, hey, everything's good, go rest. Like, you think that'd be like, is that something you'd like to see? Like, would that be pretty cool? Or like, would you be upset if it ran without you?
Oh yeah.
And you'd be like, right. So, and I can phrase it as like unprofessional as I just did because it sounds like we're actually having a conversation. Am I being a little sneaky, you know, trying to guide you where I want you to guide, where I want you to go? I am, but you see how I'm doing it like, I'm stumbling over my words. I'm speaking unnecessarily excessively. I'm using and like and pause. I'm not making eye contact with you. I can do all these things that make you feel like, oh, this is not a sales pitch because I'm just
Right.
guiding you to the conclusion I want you to get to.
Mm,
And
okay.
anytime you want to convince somebody of anything, you're selling. Like it doesn't matter what you're doing. You're selling. The question is, how good are you at selling? Now, women, what I find is that women are usually very good at selling because they can ask questions that make their man think it's his idea, right? That's like a real like my wife is good at like she works with pre-K students and she'll be like, "Do we think that's a good idea?" So the kid goes, "Was that a good idea?" No, it wasn't. She doesn't have to tell them that's a bad idea. She can get them to like rat themselves out because
Right.
she knows what to ask them. So
Yeah.
the pro salesperson wants to do that, and you do that by being a little not sneaky, but just not being salesy.
Is that called curiosity? Being
It
curious.
what I will say is that it's almost like feigned curiosity because I truly do want to understand, but not because I'm curious. It's more so that I'm curious of whether we can work together or not.
Mm,
So once I've identified that we can work together, then I need to get to the point where you acknowledge that you need help. I can give you a solution, and then through that solution unlocks a new problem, which is actually doing it, application.
okay.
So if I say like, okay, well, you know, you got sick, it's like, you know, playing catch. Maybe I don't want to phrase it as corny, like, oh, do you like playing catch up? That's like too obvious. It's like, okay, now good sales. Patricia's in the sales game. She right away has a red flag go up, which is what he's trying to sell me because I asked too obvious a question.
Yeah.
So how do I make that point being sneaky? For the salesperson, I have to get you to open up about that same point. But if I say no one wants to play catch up, beginner move, because you're gonna go, okay, been there, like he's trying to sell me. But if I say, oh my goodness, I remember one time I got sick like 2 years ago. It set back everything. I had to play catch up. I had to work double hours. You know, we got caught up, but I kid you not, it probably took me like 3 or 4 months. Right there, I'm gonna stop talking, and then you're gonna tell me because we're humans. You're gonna one up my story,
Oh yeah.
right? And then I know she doesn't like playing catch up because she just one up my story. And then I can
And
go and I
talk
can
about
say, instead of
themselves.
me saying, Patricia, you need this system, I can say, yeah, Dan, you know, I fixed this in my business by doing this and that because I swore to myself, I'm never going to go through that again. I have not looked back since. It's been the greatest thing ever. And then you're going to either say, that's cool, or you're going to say, wait, how did you do that? And so now the sales conversation of me trying to pitch you becomes a conversation that's very, very under the radar.
Yeah.
And it's cool because it's defensive too. If you're like, "Oh yeah, that's cool," and you don't go anywhere, I go, "Okay," and I let it die because you're not interested. And I don't look pushy, salesy, whiny, whatever.
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
maintain my composure.
Um, at the top of my screen, it's like 000. It's just funny. It's like time is over.
Oh
Scheduled
yeah,
meeting
for
time.
your timers.
No,
You're
for
right.
your, I think it's yours because it's based off of your scheduled time for
Oh
this.
yeah, yeah. Meeting
But
duration.
it's
Yeah, you
zero
can
zero.
change.
Yeah, it's 000. I was like,
Yeah, it's like flashing. Yeah, I'm at like 2 hours in.
oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you. That
Yeah.
was so helpful, all of it. So three things very helpful to me for today. Sorry I took everybody's time.
No, you're good. I didn't have a topic today, so I like when people come in and ask questions.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, have a good day. I'm
It
off
was
Have
a
a
to
good
another
one.
voluntary,
meeting.
it was a voluntary meeting, meaning your questions provided good information. No
I
reason to
know, right?
apologize.
I did not know about the SASO thing, and I'm glad I asked. That was so helpful.
That is my trick to very expensive clients. Because once you go through S, they're going to want to take you through A. And once you get through A, they're going to want you to go through S. And then once you go through the second S, they're going to want you to go through O. And then once they go through O, they're going to realize, wait, every time we go through a new iteration, we're ramping up. We don't know what to do with our infrastructure hiring, like, and they're going to just keep coming back to you.
Yeah.
So a good business coach will have that A to Z transformation mapped out with those cyclical iterations until you either achieve the transformation that you wanted to achieve with them that your program outlines, or until they achieve that status where they're like, hey, I've got it, I understand this concept in depth now, I don't need you anymore. And then a good coach will say, perfect, your training wheels are off, you don't need mom and dad behind the bike, right? What I see with a lot of coaches is that they get paid money when they're behind the bike holding the kid up on the bike, so they're not incentivized to ever let them ride the bike on their own, right? A good coach says, if I can get you to ride the bike and I can record the fact that I helped you ride a bike, I can say, hey, I helped so and so ride a bike so I can help you. And if I can do that 50 to 100 times, I can be the professional bike ride teacher that you bring all of your really difficult jobs to, that you'll then pay a lot of money to because you know I'm the go to guy. So whether you're paying a business coach, looking for a business coach, helping a business coach, whatever, make sure that there's an end time and that you're not incentivizing this limbo mode where it's like constantly having to come back. You definitely don't want to be in that state.
I got to run. I got to go to another meeting.
Have fun.
Thank you so much. It was so helpful. Nice to see you, Simon, or hear you.
Yeah, see ya.
Bye.
But I can stay on for like 10 more minutes. You guys have any other questions or anything? No, we're all good.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get engagement and get some setters. I'm not sure that setters are interested in a $100 or $300 payday on the groups that I'm in. So I'm looking for ones that don't specifically say high ticket setters.
Yeah, what you want to do for setters and closers is two things. Number one, you can look at communities and do job listings, and I'll cover that one second. But the easiest way to find one is to go on like, a job listing and create a job listing, even Fiverr, WhatsApp, Indeed, some kind of job listing. When you do your job listing, you want to put like the maximum that they can reach. So for example, if you say like, $100 a day, $300 a day, they're not going to equate that to $300 a day times 30 days, right? Then if you do that math for them and you're like, hey, listen, you can make 9,000 a month, right? Now they're like, oh, I'm listening. And if you do 9,000 times 12 and you can get even bigger, right? And you can say, hey, listen, we're going to do, what is that, 108,000 or 106,000, like over 100 grand. You can make 100 grand a
Yeah.
year from home. Like then what happens is you're going to have more people interested in what you're actually pitching. Because they're not going to do the math of like 300 times this. Now you can break it down to, oh yeah, it's only 150 a day or $300 a work day. But you want to say, okay, if there's no cap on commission, you want to show the range. Like, top setters, and that's how you can attract better quality. If you're saying, top setters can do, let's say, what is their how many work days in a month? Is it 24? You have 4 times 5, no, 20. So let's say you have 20 work days
Hmm.
times 300 times 12. So $72,000 remote from home job, work your own hours. Or let's say
Hmm.
you're doing two two sales a day, right? So now you're doing, or maybe even like 450, right? A sale and a half a day. 450 times 20 times 12 months, $108,000 opportunity, work from home, make your own hours, right? That becomes a lot more enticing than, 100, 300, 400 a day.
Sure. Okay. I
And
just
then, yeah, go ahead.
is it legit to say that when I mean I don't have anybody already working for me that bears out those numbers, not even
You're,
myself.
you're talking about potential, right? You're saying you can make this much money.
Okay.
If you're closing a cleaner a day on our system and you're taking home 100% commission of day one, you can, as much as you can sell, we can fulfill. A good salesperson is going to come in and so then, and they're going to do it, they're going to take that and run with it. So the question is, okay, how do I get a decent salesperson to come in? And you can even say like part-time, like, hey, you guys can just sell on the weekends, like literally part-time job. If you get two closes a day, 600 bucks times two, 1,200 times 4 weekends, 4,800 a month, part-time job, selling on the weekends, selling in the weekends and evenings. Work your own hours. Like, I don't care how often or how little you work. But remember, like when you're doing a job listing is a pitch. So when you're doing the pitch to a customer, just like when you're doing a pitch to bring somebody on to want to work with you, you have to make it all about them. So what do
Right.
they want? They want money, freedom, potentially benefits. You can get rid of benefits if you have the money to where they can then afford it on their own. Like for example, like anyone self-employed is probably paying their own, insurance, vacation, you know what I mean,
Right.
like medical. So if you pay me a lot of money, yeah, I'll forego the benefits because I can just pay the benefits myself, and it's more than I would make at a job plus benefits, right? So, simple replacement.
Okay.
But yeah, you want to
Me-
show them the potential, and then when they come on board, you want to tell them like this is the way you're gonna have to do it. And even with them doing it, like you're gonna have to keep them accountable. If they're like, "Oh, I'm not getting any calls," it's like, okay, what is your outreach? What is your sales script? Right? It's always traffic conversion, and then fulfillment is just sending them off to the actual fulfillment team.
Do I let them build their own script or do I give them the one that we've been using?
You can give them one that you've been using, or you can let them use it. But if you're not getting good results, then I would probably collaborate with them and see, what experience they have and if they can find it on their own. And if you
Okay.
have like if
Yeah.
you read Built to Sell, what they cover in Built to Sell is they find product salespeople because product salespeople are good at not selling like woulda, coulda, shouldas. Like, oh, we could do this and we could do that and we should do that, right? They just sell like, hey, here are the details of the product. So they're not going to screw you over come fulfillment. And then what they say is when you find your top sellers that are product salespeople, they say ask that person if they want to move into a sales management role, and then they can bring on their own buddies, their own team to start selling. And the way that you incentivize somebody to go from a commission role to a salary role is by still having them do some kind of profit sharing. So they do what's called long-term profit sharing model. So LT, what is it? PSM.
Yes.
And what they do is they say, okay, whatever money your team makes, you are going to get like a portion of what they sell as well. So the benefit of that would be if Simon's on, let's say he starts at 100% commission, then when I bring in the salesperson, we're going to move them to 80% commission on everything you sell. The sales manager is now getting 20% commission on everything his entire team sells. So he or she is now going to be incentivized to make sure every person is doing really, really well. So for example, you make 80% of every sale, but sales manager is making 20% off every sale, and he's got, 8, 10, 20 salespeople. He's gonna be making bank. And he can still stay on commission or salary plus commission. The hardest part with the sales aspect is finding somebody who is going to take initiative to sell because with the sales team, you need people who are going to take initiative. And that's a really difficult one. That's why salespeople are so like, cocky, puffed up because there is a high degree of management by abdication. The worst salespeople ever are people who follow a script to a T. If you go look at Jerry Miner's team, he has people who were doing like following sales scripts, and his best salespeople who eventually left his program and did their own program, they always say the same thing. They're like, it's not a script, it's a framework. So you want to take them through, like I was just telling Patricia, you want to take them through checking boxes, like box number one, Do you disagree? You don't like following up. The creativity in the salesperson will be how they identify or check that box off before you move on to stage two, right? So his like top salespeople that walk away and make their own programs and YouTube videos, they always talk about the framework.
Hmm.
What Jeremy Miner tries to do is he tries to standardize the whole thing and tries to create scripts around it, which is very smart for starting out with sheer numbers. But the best salespeople have their own framework that they follow and execute. And then make sure you have no cap on commission. Make sure it's no base salary. You want to incentivize them to get to work. Chop chop. But that is the only role in which you want to have some degree of management by abdication, which is simply put, relying on the individual and not the role.
Right.
Now, once you have somebody who's killing it, what's their script? What's your process? What's your framework? Let's try to translate that over to other people. Yes.
Yeah. Make an SOP out of it.
But you want to find these and the easiest thing to do is find these people who are in some kind of non-commission sales role or low commission sales role. Like go look at any shoe store. They're selling a product, small
Yeah.
commission. And then you ask hey, if you made commission on your sales, how much money you make? I'd make a ton of money. Hey, you want to come do that for cleaning companies?
It's actually
And
not a bad idea.
yeah, we always look at product salespeople, shoe salespeople, kiosk salespeople, phone salespeople, any tech salespeople, because they can't say, oh, we can make the computer go faster. You can't. You have to sell the product that's there, right? You can't change it.
Hmm.
Now, if you look at, I'm not going to say names, but you and I have experienced this. If you have somebody who's selling anything the customer wants, fulfillment becomes a nightmare, retention becomes a nightmare, clients become very angry, your early adopters become your biggest critics, right?
Yep. Yep.
That's why
Yeah.
we sell a
I
product, not a service.
Early in my software engineering career, I spent about a year working for software development for American Express, but
Mhm.
my team answered to the marketing department. You can
Yeah,
guess how
big
that went.
mistake. Big mistake. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, because they're
Ugh.
going to say, build this and then turn around, build that and turn around, build that. And,
Oh,
oh, it
you
didn't
work
do what we
there.
thought. Changed it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know that story too well.
I got
Um,
a quick, oh, sorry.
yeah, no, go ahead.
I have a quick question probably about expos.
Yeah.
So I found that painter guy I was talking to. Uh, he said that it is depending on workflow, he was planning on going to the ECA Expo,
Hmm.
and it's like 1750 to just go as a person to be at the event. $1,750. Is that average, or is that just like a high end event?
That's insanely high. Like,
Okay. It's in
that is,
Colorado at a freaking resort. It's insane. And that doesn't include stay. That's just food and hang out for four
yeah,
days.
I wouldn't do that.
So maybe in the future, because that's probably got some high caliber leads, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What's the name of it?
Yeah, Omar.
PCA, I believe it is. Let me go look. I just had it up. Uh, it's
Yeah. So,
called
yeah,
the
go ahead.
PCA Painting Contractors Expo.
Yeah, 2025.
It's probably where a
Uh,
lot of my money's at, though. I'm just not ready to be
Yeah.
there yet. I'll have to wait till I get
Yeah.
oh, it's in the Springs.
Yeah,
50.
the game is don't spend money you don't have, right?
Yeah,
Not that you don't have it, but like the business doesn't have because it's a new
correct.
business.
Where are you, Jake?
I am in Idaho, so I'm not super far from Colorado
Hmm.
No.
as far as a plane flight, but um, that I could go for a day for $750. But then again, it's like that's in less than 2 months, I'm pretty sure, and I might want to plan for 2026 if anything,
Yeah,
after I
Yeah. Well,
February
scale some.
3rd. That's in 2 weeks.
two
yeah.
weeks, yeah. And I'm like Alec and I just finished the product, and I got some
Yeah.
appointments, but yeah, not ready.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it yet. Most of the local events too should be priced between 50 to $200, right? So that's
Okay,
like a full event that you're looking at right there.
all right. And then as far as do I want to be at those as a vendor or just a network?
Network.
Network, cool.
Yeah. I mean,
I
yeah,
used to follow a guy who say when you go to those kind of things for networking, find out like the top 10 companies that you're going to be there that you want to do business with. Find out who their representatives that are going to be there are by calling the company and set up appointments with them just to have a cup of coffee while you're there.
Oh, that's a
He's-
great idea.
He said he had amazing success with it.
yeah. Look at Ultimate Sales Machine. They have like where their business was getting big. They would set up the expo. They'd have a booth, and then they would have an after party. And they would say, "Oh yeah, if you give us some kind of like referral information, you'll get a ticket to a raffle for the after party." And then at the after party, they'd give away like a trip to Hawaii. But it would get them
Nice.
so many results, like so many referrals, that it would justify the cost of the trip to Hawaii.
I'm really enjoying that book so far, and
Such a
I'm
good
like
book.
in chapter one, but just the letter to her dad and
Oh man.
the forward, even those two things were pretty epic.
Yeah, yeah,
Which
because
one?
you're ultimate sales machine.
Oh,
A Chet and Amanda Holmes, yeah. But you're a parent, right, Jake?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so like it's cool too because like in the business lesson, if you kind of like remember that like the gray squares are her adding to her dad's stuff, you're kind of like that's so
Mhm.
cool. It's like that parent-child relationship. That's a really cool book.
Heck yeah.
But yeah, that those expos are pretty good for you where you are now. Like collect the cash and you can justify that. And what people I had a guy who Chinese immigrant in California and he got into the real estate space. And so he said, "How do I get into those kind of events, right, that you're talking about, or how do I get in front of those kind of people?" And what he found was he said, like, think about, I'm going to say it. It sounds so simple that's almost stupid, like that we're not doing it. But think about like how smart this was on his own, right? He said, "What do rich people have? Because I want to work with rich people and I want to sell their homes." He said, "Rich people have nice cars and nice watches." Now, if you see a nice car, you know they have money, but not everybody recognizes the smart watches, like the really nice watches, right? So
Mm,
he literally went, this was like, pre short form content era. It was like, 2010, 2012. He went in, or 2015, 2016. He went online and he looked up and he memorized every high end watch. Okay. Every nice watch ever. He tried to memorize as many as he could. So then when he's meet out in public and he bumps into somebody who has a really nice watch, he goes, "Oh, is that the so and so?" And they go, "Oh, yeah." And they think he speaks money, I speak money, and we can have a conversation.
yes, that's epic.
And he said that landed
genius.
him so many high ticket residential, not residential, real estate deals. Because then they go, "Oh, what do you do? Give me your card." And he said just by doing that, he landed so many deals. And what's
Mm.
interesting is one of the best things that you can do if you're trying to work with people who have money is go to the most expensive gym membership. Go live in a really expensive apartment building, a really expensive neighborhood. Why? Because you're going to be bumping shoulders with people who have a ton of money. And he's
In a
like
big
that.
network.
Do you know that some people, do you know, like you've heard about people who buy like super expensive cars, right? Like we're talking like $3 million cars, like the
Mm,
ones the ones that literally come with watches. Have you seen those?
no.
So they have cars that are like so nice that when you buy them, it comes with a watch, or it comes with like a fancy purse for the wife, or it
Mm,
comes with like really nice stuff. And I was always like, that's like, why would you want that? I didn't know this because I didn't speak money at all at the time. When you have a really fancy car, you've heard of people who have fancy cars and never drive them, right? You've heard of that at
yeah,
least. So
I
the
know
reason they
somebody
do
like that.
that, so the reason they do that is because when you have certain vehicles, you will get invited to certain events.
Mm,
And so they buy a $3 million car, and you're like, that's so stupid. But then you're like, why do they do that? Oh, now they're going to events where
that
they're
is,
closing
yeah,
10, 20, $50 million deals.
that's epic. That's cool. I
And
like
it's
it.
like, we don't know this because if you don't speak money, it's like, you just think that's so dumb. That's so, like, why would you do that? And so this guy, this client of mine was explaining this whole thing to me. And I'm like, this is so smart. He's like, if you want to sell to rich people, you got to talk to rich people. If you want to talk to rich people, you got to do what rich people do. What do rich people do? How do I get involved in that? Well, I can't buy the $3 million Bugatti, but I can memorize what the watch looks like for free. And then
Mm,
I go and I hang out where rich people hang out. I remember when I lived in Lynchburg, we moved down here. The business was like doing really, really well. I'm like, hey, like let's, tell the wife, I'm like, let's go ball out on our condo, right? So we went, or as a apartment that is a condo that we rent basically. So I'm like, okay, cool, let's go out and ball out at a nice place. We got the gym downstairs, we got the corner mark, we're downtown, it's really nice. And I'd forgotten this thing that somebody told me, which was like, go where people with money hang out, right? So I have dogs. I take my dogs down to the dog park. What do you think happens every time I go down to the dog park? Who else takes their dogs to dog park? Dog owners. Of who? The people who live in the building. And what do? You talk with them the same way when you go to a playground, the parents talk, right?
Hmm.
Dogs are playing. I'm like, hey, what do you do? Oh, I own my own pool company. I'm like, that's weird. I own my own business too. Oh, what do you do? And we're talking. I go in, I come back out next day. Hey man, hey, what are you doing? Oh, blah blah. Oh, what do you do for work? Oh, I work in sales. I run a sales agency. What do you do? Oh, I work with custom ceiling light installations for high-end buildings. I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, okay, cool. Go ahead the next time. Conversation comes up again. What do you do? I own my own pressure washing company. I own my own plumbing company. I own my own jigger. I'm like, everybody in my building is basically a business owner or related to one. I'm like, what the heck? Just people in my building, I'm getting customers off that. It's like, what the heck? Like, so it's like I didn't even recognize it like when you do it. And then what happens when you go to the gym? Where people with money go to the gym? You have little gym buddies. It's like the number one lesson that I could give you guys, anybody watching at any point, like the number one theme I think I'm going to be really pushing in 2025 is relationships precede everything. Like relationships should be at the core of everything you do. Cold calling is difficult because you're trying to establish enough of a relationship for them to book a call with you, right? Not impossible, just difficult. Cold email, same thing. But if I can get you to interact with them on a regular basis, if I can get in front of you regularly, when you're ready for that action, I'm going to be your go-to guy. If I've positioned myself as smart enough and reliable enough. Like Jake, if you go to painting events, there might be a guy like I have this happen to me all the time. I had a client I'm working with next week, and she's like, I've consumed probably every single one of your YouTube videos over the past like 8 months. I really want to work with you. What's cool is I've never spoken with her before that, but Alec has spoken with her, just not in live time, right?
Hmm.
So she's already like, I know everything about you. I like it. And I'm like, you know, my clients basically get to stalk me and determine if they want to work with me or not, which means she comes to me. I don't have to convince her. I don't have to build a relationship. She feels like there's already been a relationship. Had a guy come in the other day, first call. Oh, send me an invoice. I want to work with you. I'm like, oh, I don't have to convince him because he's been seeing all my content. It feels like he's hung out with Alec the whole time. Like relationships precede everything. And then if you read
I've got
Ultimate
to.
Sales Machine, what does it talk about? It talks about get in front of them, whether they want you there or not. Like bump into them if you have to.
I've got to stop making the text version of my VLMs, but not the V part of it. I've
Yeah, the
got like,
V part of it is so big because they will want to talk to you or they will absolutely hate you. That's the best
yeah,
part. Like if you hate me, I don't have to get rejected on the call. My close rate is very high because the people who come to me are seeing the amount of content and then they come in.
yeah.
It's like it's the whole cast. Like for me, like if you want to like the and Jake, you're reading Sales Machine. If you read it and they're talking about, you'll get to the part of the book. I think it's like chapter 7, maybe, where they just talk about getting in front of your person like as much as you can. It's just the Casanova effect. Like go look at how Casanova was able to. Everyone knows he's like the ultimate seducer. And if you read his stories or what he would say, right, or what the character would say rather, it's like these periods of seduction would take place over 1 to 2 years. It's like when you remove time as a variable, it's a matter of when, not if. Now, how do you remove time as a variable? You have to remove the finances as a restriction. How do you remove that? You do it for free, low cost, or you have something supplementing that. When you do those two things, it becomes a matter of when. If you're constantly applying and trying to evolve. But yeah, that's a really good book. Like if you're going to the same gym with somebody, you're bound. You can have you go to the gym 5 days a week, even to hit the treadmill 5 days a week. You can bump into somebody potentially 5 days a week. That's way better than waiting for something to pop up on your For You page. That's way better than you cold calling them. You bump into them. You could talk about complete nonsense, your favorite football team, for 4 out of the 5 days, and on day 5, you find out what each other do, right? So relationships really precede profit. So yeah, for you, Jake, I would say look at the relationships you can establish, and then that's the whole point of like the video content and the groups and the group engagement. It's all about leveraging other people's audience, YouTube's audience, maybe a Facebook group's audience, to or an expo's audience, to put yourself in front of those people and start leveraging relationships until you find somebody who says yes. And for those of you who are like, again, look at love. Like you can see somebody who is like, I mean, I understand I'm not Prince Charming, don't get me wrong, but you can see someone who's like completely busted up, and then you will see like their partner come out, and you're like, oh yeah, like there's somebody for everybody, right? Like you can find somebody like you see someone who's like you think is not saying they are, but just subjectively you think they're very unattractive, and yet they have a partner. You can see somebody who is subjectively like the who you think is the worst person ever, and yet they have a partner, right? So it's not always just a matter of like some people think like you've got to be perfect. You really don't. Like you just have to be you and you have to engage with people and you'll find people who want to work with you.
As far as group engagement, the styles of questions to answer is pretty much just anything and everything,
Be
right?
social. Yeah,
Just
be
be
social.
social.
What I do, I kid you not, this is what I do. I see a post, I hear a question, whatever, via text. I will literally look away from the screen, I'll close my eyes, and I'll say, how would I respond if I were in person? Think about like cold calling scripts, right? Close your eyes and imagine your cold calling script, but you're walking up to somebody at an expo and saying that. You don't know me, but can I take 30 seconds of your time and I'm going to explain to you why you need to work with me? And they're like, dude, I'm at that expo trying to enjoy my time. I'm in the middle of work trying to work. Like, I mean, I guess go ahead, right? Your conversion's not going to be great because that would that work well in person? Probably not.
Hmm.
But if you have a booth with some kind of curiosity statement, or if you walk up to somebody and you start asking them questions and they start spilling their stories and their problems and their solutions, it's like, oh yeah, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Oh, this is kind of what we do. You know, I'm not trying to sell you, but this is kind of what we do. Here's what I'd recommend. Oh, could you help me set that up? Yeah, here's my card. You know, I want you to enjoy the expo. I don't want to ruin your time, but yeah, let's meet up. Hey, if you want, event ends at 5. You want to grab like you want to head to the bar? There should be other, other guys are going to the bar if you want to go to the bar after that. Oh yeah, we could do that. Waiting to the bar. Hey man, come over here. Let me tell you about my 5-step No, you're just talking. At some point they will tell it and then it's just a conversation. But the problem is I think people get like so fixated on the like the texting becoming the median that they lose sight of the conversation. So they think it's like a if this then what? Well, if they say that then I do this, or oh they didn't convert. Like go look at your spam. Go look at any of your spam and people like messaging you and they're like, I offer free leads. This. Imagine if you said that in person. They'd be like, can you go away? Like get out of here.
I had an ADD question a second ago and then it left me.
Oh man.
If
If you have those, type them up. My wife gets those. I always tell her if you have a question, type them up or interrupt me.
Okay.
I don't want you. I got a pretty good memory, so if you don't interrupt me, more than welcome.
Okay.
But we'll go ahead and wrap up. We've been on here for 2.5 hours. If you guys have any questions, feel free to post in the group or shoot me a DM. But yeah, we'll go from there.
I think I remember. I remember.
All right, what's up?
So you remember that cold outreach method that you taught on like a month ago?
Yeah,
Is anybody in the group, do you know if they're utilizing that yet?
let me see.
It was
Yeah, it's a
basic audit.
cold call, Loom, basic audit. Yeah. Um, I want to say Steph is doing a variation of it, and she just closed her second client.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I'll have to see what she's learned from it so far.
Yeah, no, she's not doing the Loom videos. She does screenshots of their business, like their GBP and I think their website. And
Mhm.
she's like, and then she just goes straight into like the pain point. She's like, hey, this is how things are looking? Is that how you want it to run? And they're like, no, I don't. We can fix it. How much? Let's hop on a call.
And that's a 100% DM. So
She's been
no
doing that
phone call.
through email because
Okay.
she uses email or WhatsApp for her communication. I think she does a little IG, but the one she told me was she was just doing emails.
Okay.
Now, when you do email, it costs money to do that as opposed to the free message, but you can ensure that's going to the right inbox. So that's where I'm saying it can be low cost if you do email, or it can be free if you do social media.
I got it. Or you
Yeah.
can, yeah, just do all of it. Just do
Yeah,
all of it.
but the beauty of the way that she's doing it, whether it's email or not, the beauty of what she's doing is she's making it custom to the individual.
Do you remember which which meeting that was? Like what the date on that was? Because I had that on my to-do list to go back and watch that and pull out some ideas that I had while I was watching it, and I never got around to doing that.
The if you go to the YouTube and then go to the lives, you'll see all the lives and you'll see the one with Steph.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Because
Alex, sorry to interrupt. That
until
was
I
actually
go ahead.
my question about DMs. So this one that you've it's like you guys are telepathic. That's literally why I came on here, just to ask about like cold DMs. That video that you mentioned, it's on the, is it on YouTube? One of the lives on that one you said.
If you want to see the full script on what I recommend, it's training number 12 or 13 in the light folder and has a YouTube tied with it, and it's like how to reach out without sounding like an idiot, something like that.
Oh, okay, okay. All right
Yeah.
then. I'll just look at it on there in that case.
Yeah, the best thing, like when you have any outreach, you want to focus on getting a response and then handling the response and then pushing to your questions. So
Yeah.
you can't have a conversation with somebody that won't reply to you. So that's number one. How do you get a reply? And then once you get the reply, how to handle their objections, which are going to be bottom line up front. I don't know who you are. Leave me alone. Those are like the
Yeah.
three negatives. So I cover how to handle the negatives and then moving into if it goes your way. And then
Oh
once it
yeah.
goes your way,
Okay.
the questions to ask. But the easiest, like if you, one of the nice things is if you have a community, you can DM people. Like you can, this is an alternative option. You can just DM people and say, hey, I have a free community that helps show you how to scale your ABC business for 100% free. Here's a link if you want to join. If
Yeah.
you wanted
Yeah.
to cold out, if you wanted to just cold mass DM, that's what I would do.
What about
Right. Okay.
when your group's first getting launched? When I was filming my BLM the other day, I ended up changing the very last sentence because it suggested the group is already built
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and it's just getting launched. So what do you suggest in that
It's
situation?
still, yeah, it's still there. You can still push people to it and push them to join the group.
I'm launching a group specific to helping XYZ businesses
So
instead of
the only, yeah, that works too. The only catch would be if you have that video out and then people find it like 10 months later and the group is already up and active. And then they're like, "Oh, is the group ready?" And you're like, "Yeah, just go to the link." So I
That
would just
makes
say, "Hey, join
sense.
the group here." I just say join the group here. One person, 50,000 people, doesn't matter, join the group here. And then if they join in, and another thing you can do is you can get people in the group before you start your VLM if you really want to. So you can just engage in groups. Say, hey, I have a free group that we're launching, or just in the DMs of other people's groups. I have a free group or I have a free whatever. Join over here. They join, and then once you get like 20, 30 people, you drop your first VLM. You could do it that way too. But at the end of the day, like the details of what we're covering are like the workout guys who are like, you should do this split or this reps or that reps. The person who's going to make it is the person who's just doing their best and being consistent.
Yeah.
So,
And I want my BLM out there regardless. I don't want to wait on
dude,
it,
I still have on this channel, I still have some of my first videos out. Go look at how bad and how poor the quality is.
No doubt.
That got me enough money to get better equipment, which got me enough money to scale it up, which got me enough money to bring in editors or get the software. Like I started with Chromebook and the Chromebook camera. And then I got a webcam, and then I got a actual DSLR and a setup. Like I always tell people, Rome wasn't built in a day. We know this, but people lived in Rome from day one, right? So many people are like afraid to say, "Yo, I live in Rome." They want to wait for Rome to be big and then say, "Oh yeah, I'm from Rome." It's like, no, let it be small and bad and ugly. Let it be yours. And then as you get money, you can change it. If you don't get money, you got to change your product because obviously nobody wants to work with you, pay you, or watch your stuff because your stuff is trash. So then it's just keep doing it until you find what works, double down on it.
well,
That's what they call the iterative testing, iterations. But yeah, if the
all
product
right.
is bad, the outreach is not going to work. You get the product by talking with people, seeing what they like, guinea pig clients, that video and say so. But we'll go ahead and wrap up. I got some calls I got to get to, and then yeah, if you guys have questions, shoot me a DM.
Thank you,
Will
sir.
do, man.
Cool.